Never give in. Never give in. Never, never, never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
This country can't be knocked out with one punch. We get right back up again, and when we do, the world's going to hear the roar of our engines.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
And we will do our best.
Republic. I like the sentiment of it. It means people can live free, talk free, go or come, buy or sell, be drunk or sober, however they choose.
Are you ready to be who you are?
No poetry, just a straight answer.
The government has deliberately sought to deceive the United States by false statements and expressions of hope for continued peace.
We are men of the hood, Matty, now at your expense.
But there's no both sides anymore. They're just trying to wreck our goddamn country. It's time for you younger guys to take over it.
You were meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
If you guys don't start thinking as men, we're gonna have a lousy country.
For the crimes of incitement to cause unrest, I declare to be an outlaw!
All right, it's the Outlaw Radio Network for the 28th of December, 2022. Thanks for checking out the show. Welcome to the goodness. It is Outlaw Radio.
We appreciate you tuning in tonight. You probably had nothing better to do, you lonely ass people, but we do appreciate you being here. All right, I won't abuse the guests. You're right.
That's why people come here, is to be abused by you, Paul.
You know, here I am the whole time. I'm bucking for a pay raise, maybe a new contract, and I get chewed out by the CEO. See how that works out for me.
That's what happens. That's what happens on this show.
I'm not going to pull a Nathaniel Hackett, though, am I?
You could. You could. Really quick, K-Dog, St. Paul, Black Tom, DJD, Andy, and Lori are all here, and we'll do intros at the start of the second hour. But most importantly, fresh off of a tour of evading women all over the country.
He didn't evade a single one.
He is the heartthrob of the U.S. consent. Army. Listen,
consent and penicillin.
If they came out with an active duty U.S. Army heartthrob calendar, he would be the month of July, so he could wear the Speedo. Ladies and gentlemen, Hunter Madden joins us in studio. Hello, Hunter.
Is this my microphone?
Yeah, you can use the microphone.
Okay. Howdy.
Glad you like that
introduction. You and Tom will share the mic. There you go.
He uses high-tech stuff in the Army. Can't figure out the thing in front of his face. That's all right.
Is this a microphone?
Yes.
Howdy.
We have grade school kids that figure it out better than you.
Listen, it's the Army way of doing things, right? Oh, Hulk smash. Anyway,
no, that's the Marines.
No, the Marines are.
Okay, we go first.
The Marines can't even put coherent words together. What are you talking about?
My dad used to tell a story being in Vietnam.
Was he a Marine, your dad? Or
no, he was in the Army, okay. but our uncle was in the Marine Corps. Oh. And so he would always joke about the difference in Vietnam between the Army and the Marine Corps. He said, it's very easy to tell the difference. He said, you take a hill out in the middle of the jungle, and when the Army and Marine Corps are told to take the hill, right, the Marine battalion will line up, they'll swarm up that hill, they'll take 75% casualties, but damn it, they're going to take that hill. The Army will call in artillery for 3 days, then call in the Air Force to bomb the hell out of it, and then walk up without losing a single man. So he's like, there's a big difference. Big difference.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
Teamwork
makes
the dream work.
Jinx Yomiko. All right. So you guys all have a good Christmas? You guys enjoy the holidays?
Yes,
I did.
What an enthralling conversation we're having.
Listen,
I enjoyed it. Woo!
Did you guys enjoy the holidays? Dead silence for like 2.5 seconds before Lori's like, "Yay!"
Can you please give everybody a moment here of silence? Did you see what happened to this peninsula over the last week? I mean, we had an ice storm. You guys I posted the picture that showed 20-some vehicles. What?
So we open the show.
You don't want negativity?
We have a brief open.
Yeah.
People share what they've been doing in their lives, what's going on.
Yeah.
And then we get to the stories.
Yeah.
We never do the stories before we talk about the good, happy stuff and what you guys do in your life.
That's like asking a Ukrainian how the weather.
Breaking news. It's freaking windy out there. All right, listen. Listen, Paul.
The boat shed floated away, man.
I saw that picture of the boat shed.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
And at first,
the boat shed's a boathouse.
Did it really float away?
Well, I look.
Did it
I
come off
haven't.
its mooring?
I haven't seen a picture of it since the water was halfway up the dining room. But I'm pretty sure no matter how you slice that one, it's not in good shape afterwards. Listen, for those that don't know, right? We had this. It wasn't even like a huge storm. It was just like a okay kind of midwinter rain windstorm. It wasn't nothing terrible. But the king tide that went along with it,
with the high tide.
with the storm surge and the high tide, I have never in my life, save one time, and you guys might remember this. For those of you that lived here in Kitsap County for a long time, about 10 years ago, we had about a foot of snow, and then over the course of 24 hours, it all melted, and we got like 6 inches of rain during a high tide that was a king tide. So Gorst was underwater. Like you couldn't drive through the Gorst there. You do go all the way out to Seebeck and then through Belfair to get all the way around. So I've seen that one time, but even that wasn't as bad as what we saw the last couple of days. And I was blown away. There were Gig Harbor Police Department and Fire Department was posting pictures of Gig Harbor. Like the harbor was underwater. The freaking harbor. Like you go there and there's like 10 feet. Yeah. Like it's 10 feet above the water. And I'm looking at it going, the flagpole is underwater, man. I was just, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Thank you, Dennis. Listen, I'm going to say this.
Putin?
Was it predicted to be this bad before it happened?
No,
because I don't remember hearing anything in the days leading up to this that said.
I just heard windstorm,
massive flooding, massive flooding. Prepare like.
Yes.
How did they not see it? Especially if it was a king tide. Wouldn't they have known the king tide was
coming? I think they knew the king tide was coming. I don't think they. When you looked on the radar, and did you guys get a chance to look on the radar? You could see you could see the rotation in the storm that was coming in, and they were saying, well, gusts up to 60 miles an hour. Okay, I'm like that's not even a tropical depression, right? But still, we don't get that kind of wind around here. And for those that have lived here their whole lives, we've seen things before in late fall, early winter, where we get these storms for days. It rains and the ground is just saturated, and the real problems happen if we get winds out of the north. Right? Because the trees are all used to wind from the south. Wind out of the north, trees come down pretty easy, and that's when you get a lot of power outage. I lost power for all of like 4 hours, not even really very long. And so I was like shocked. I didn't see any trees come down. There was a few branches, but I expected it because, again, windstorm, saturated ground, and that good stuff. So that's what I expected. I did not expect the ferry to end up in Lionsfield. I didn't see it coming. Maybe a hobbit or two, but definitely not a ferry.
Let me say this. I'd like to again acknowledge the Kitsap Sons' greed, debauchery, and lack of moral ethics.
Ooh, sounds like a good time.
If you go to the Kitsap Sons website and you want to find out about the flooding on local roads, if you want to find out about the impact of the rain and the king tides in downtown Port Orchard, if you want to find out about road closures, Kitsap transit interruptions, any of that stuff, you can't do it unless you pay for a subscription. Like, I totally get it. If you want to have a subscription-based service to read about leftover salmon finds restaurant-style presentation with potato cakes, then fine. Charge subscription for that. But for the stuff that is...
shoot, dude, it really says that.
It really says that.
I thought he was making
There's
up.
an app for that.
But my point is, you're a local newspaper. You're a community newspaper in a community, you bunch of dimwits. The stuff that matters, that's essential. You need to report on that because you're still selling ad space on your website. There's still banner ads and pop-up ads on your website. So you're still getting money for the sites that people go there to see your stories if you've charged a subscription. You cannot withhold stories that are of monumental impact to the people in this community because you want to make a 23 cents per week fee. You just can't.
We'll give the people the story for free. For free. Tune into Outlaw.
It's so stupid. And you know what? You know what would happen? If you gave away the important stories for free, you'd have 0 paid subscribers. And that's why they don't do it. Because the rest of your stuff is
It's
fluff
because
crap.
their business model doesn't work anymore.
Fluff crap.
Bingo.
Yeah, it doesn't work. The business model doesn't work. And I mean, Lori actually is probably much more astute at this than I am. I don't understand a lot about business models and stuff like that. The businesses that I've been, it's all small stuff, right? It's like me and 1 or 2 other people. But I know that's that for you ladies and Andy too. I mean, would you consider your family business big business, Andy? To me, I would. One of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these ladies understand that stuff a lot more than me. Maybe you guys at some point can help people understand when we talk about the business model. What about like the local newspaper model doesn't work anymore?
Because it's not local. I mean, they're being supported by what is it, USA or something like that, or
USA Today.
Yeah,
Garnet. I think it's Granite.
And
or
USA Today doesn't care.
Yeah.
And they're just throwing money at it to keep it open for whatever licensing.
It's like a loss leader, kind of like what the owner of Amazon does with the Washington Post, I think it is.
Yeah, newspapers were never going to last. I mean, the digital age has killed the newspaper.
Hunter, do you guys have newspapers in Texas?
Somewhere. I don't know. I don't see them.
Do you know anybody in your age group that reads a newspaper? No. When was the last time you saw a newspaper?
And an outhouse?
And he's probably never been in an outhouse.
Not in the Army, you get crabs.
Well, I got a tree for that.
Well,
but...
using the brush, the field is not an outhouse.
No. Irv said in the chat room, Irv.
Wonderful picture you posted, by the way, Irv.
Irv said, and the local radio station has no responsibility or local news. Hire Carissa back. Dude, I'm not going to comment on Carissa.
The last thing I remember about her, that's a private conversation.
I'm not going to comment on Carissa. We worked with her at the station. Wonderful human being. I have nothing bad to say. Excellent person. Love her very much. However,
for those that don't know, when I first started here at the radio station, Kevin had been here for a while. And well, let's just say Carissa was one of the local reporters. And
if she was in charge of sales.
Yes, sir. And she did on-air personality stuff. I think she did weather and some other things. Listen, I have always and will always tell people, if you're in business for yourself, there are 3 people you don't ever screw over. The government, your landlord, and your employees, because all 3 will ensure your demise the very next day. In Carissa's case, you make sure you pay the help. That's all I'll say.
As far as the radio station having no news, that's true. We don't have any local news here. And do you know why? Because there's no outpouring of support from the community to fund the station on a local level. And you can do whatever you want to if you have the funds to do it. But if the local community if local businesses won't pony up $100, $150 a month in advertising for just a teeny tiny package, right? You can't fund the people that it takes to do it.
And I agree.
And when Jameson owned this station, he put a lot of work and effort. And now
he did. I do give him a ton of credit.
He did. He had people that were willing to go out and do the job for commission only.
Yeah. And nobody
and
bought
that
into
doesn't exist right now.
And nobody bought into it back then, which is why he sold. So I mean, I get what you're saying, or if you're absolutely correct, but no, this is in this market. I'll give you guys a little peek behind the curtain of how radio works. Radio uses a company called Arbitron or other similar companies, and they're the ones who handle the ratings, and they're the ones that do surveys and mailers and phone calls and all that stuff to figure out who's listening to what. Arbitron does not rate a market as small as Kitsap. So even if we had millions and millions millions of
or at
listeners,
least 4,
which we do. There's no way to quantify that. So you can't go out to a local business owner and say, we have 1 million listeners to this show. Do you want to advertise? Because there's no rating system to do that.
Right.
We have a better, honestly, we have a better chance of getting advertisers for this show on Facebook.
Yep.
Because we can quantify our hits.
Correct. We can show how many people
then the
click
radio
on the
station,
show, listen to the show, and how long they listen to it for.
Then the radio station ownership can quantify its listenership in Kitsap because there's no rating base. So I would agree. Listen, I was the news director down here in 1998, 1999.
Kevin was the one that came up with the slang statement of the heterosexually challenged instead of saying fairies.
Yeah, that's right. I was the news director
Think
down
about
here,
it.
and we were running news. We were running news all the time. We were doing local ferry updates. We were everywhere.
Heterosexually challenged.
Nobody supported it financially. If you don't support it financially, nobody makes any money. Nobody stays and does it.
Right.
Because that's work all day.
Yes.
Because that's work all day.
That's work all day for multiple people, by the way.
Yeah.
You heard one person do the news on Cairo. There are 4 people behind them that are doing producing, directing, setting up interviews, writing up news stories, running the boards. It's a team effort. It's not just one.
I mean,
body.
the ferry updates. How many times a day did you record those?
They were pre-recorded.
When I was doing the radio in the
They were
morning,
pre-recorded, but it was still.
When I did the morning show,
every
I
15 minutes.
I had to call them every time before I went on air to make sure that the ferries were on time. And for 6 months, they were on time every time I called them.
Yeah.
After a while, I quit calling. I just
anyway.
looked out the window.
So no, I have a lot of respect for the folks that can do it. We just don't have the base here to do it. I think local radio in small markets is run into the same issue as newspapers.
Which is why it's so important for people that are passionate about supporting the community, continuing to do the radio and have the conversations and not being afraid of engaging in the conversations.
Heidi says 1989. Did he say 89? No, I didn't say 89. I said 98. 98, 99 is what I said.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother conversation. Let it go, Kevin.
Okay. All right.
You're not going to feel young.
Let it go.
I'm not trying to feel young.
Let it go.
I graduated in 89.
Someone grabbed you by the toe.
You were 2 in 89? Oh, cool.
She was born the year I graduated.
Welcome to the party. All right. Okay. I keep forgetting you're older than I am, Lori, because you look way younger than I am.
Oh, thank you. My birthday's coming up too.
Oh, when is your birthday?
Look on Facebook.
In a week or so.
Is it on a show night?
Hell no.
Okay, just checking. Just checking.
Even if it is, her answer is going to be hell no.
Exactly.
Well done.
It's on a payday. That's all we need to know.
Hey, I wanted to ask you guys a question before we get to the bottom of the hour. I think this is a good short topic, but it's a topic to talk about nonetheless. Have you guys noticed that gas prices have reached like a quintessential low?
Yes.
What? I mean, not an all-time low, because I remember when it was 85 cents a gallon. Shut up, Heidi. I'm old. But gas at Costco in Silverdale, which is where I do my gas shopping, is down to $3.13 a gallon. Or at least it was yesterday. I don't know what it is today.
What's diesel at?
I have no idea.
Imagine if we didn't have the second highest gas taxes in the nation here.
But here's my question.
It's orgasmic.
Here's my question. Does anybody not expect gas prices to go back to $4 a gallon in January?
I think they'll wait until we start driving again in spring.
Springtime, I was going to.
I mean, have you not noticed that there's a cycle to all this?
I think there is, but I also listen. We're going to have an increase in gas taxes at some point in January because of the new law.
But it will it'll trickle down. So I think that's going to take some time. You're going to have to see the effect of those new taxes come into play and then work their way through the system. I think I think Lori's correct. I think it'll be springtime.
And gas costs more in the fall and winter anyways, because it's more expensive to create when the weather's cold.
Yeah, but it's cheaper and it's winter. So it's cheaper now than it's been.
Well, the gas you're using right now was bought,
presidency.
the oil that produced the gas at the refineries was bought 3 to 4 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So it takes time to work itself through the system.
Right, but typically they still gas is not normal right now. So seeing the
you should be eating healthy. Digestive health should be in good shape.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, plenty of broccoli. Yep.
Make some kale.
Asparagus. Yep. Oh God, now I'm getting hungry. Brussels sprouts. Yeah.
Brussels sprouts are gross, and I need to kick you off the show for even mentioning them on the show.
Agreed. Totally agree.
Little salt and little pepper, little
Brussels sprouts,
condensed
Brussels sprouts are baby
vinegar,
cabbage. Brussels sprouts are baby
bacon
cabbage.
fat. Absolutely.
Hold on. Snowflake.
No.
Who are you talking to? Who are you calling snowflake?
Do you like Brussels sprouts?
You're calling him a snowflake?
No
you're
vegetables.
You're now my official co-host right now.
Brussels
You
sprouts.
said no vegetables.
Brown sugar and
You want to keep that physique with no vegetables? Good luck.
Plenty of meat.
I have for 2
Good luck
Plenty
with
of
that.
meat, right?
Good luck with that.
A lot of meat, a lot of protein, right? Carnivore. Thank you.
You still have,
Oh.
if you want to
See,
keep
look,
the physique,
on.
you better start eating your vegetables.
But it's his metabolism. Let's
Look.
be honest.
Which sucks right now because he's
When you-
peeing out protein. Sorry, was that too much
When
on
you
air?
eat a lot of when you eat a lot of meat and you're on a
Make
carnivore
sure it's
diet,
clear, Hunter.
you look like Hunter. When you eat a lot of vegetables,
Don't you do it.
And
I will
you,
hit
and you
you.
have a koi pond,
I will hit, I will
you look
I will
like
pop
Paul.
you in the
Not true.
Anyway,
I hate you.
anyway,
You suck.
am I wrong to believe?
Yes, you're wrong.
Hold on. You're gonna say I'm right. Actually, I think you're gonna say I'm right. Am I wrong to believe that the gas price is completely manipulated by the White House, and that Joe Biden? Let me finish the question. And that Joe Biden was like, "I need a win."
He's like, I saw all four mouths get closer to the microphone. No, let me finish.
Hold on. Joe Biden was like, "I need a win.
Mm-hmm.
The economy's crap. We keep hearing about inflation. This is the holiday season. Let's give them a break on gas so they can spend it in other places, and then we'll let the gas prices go back where they were after the holiday season." Am I completely jaded to think that?
Lori, you want to go first?
No,
Thank you.
not at all. And not only that, but I think Governor Glory Hole is going to continue it because he because of the
You heard it right. That's his new nickname. It used to be Governor Bobblehead, but now it's Governor Glory Hole. Go ahead, Lori.
Anyways, are you okay, Paul?
I think Paul missed this conversation. We talked about this in our chat room for like 3 weeks.
Anyways, Governor Glory Hole is going to, absolutely support the gas tax, the increase. And not only that, but it's going to pave the way for our absentee insurance commissioner to go ahead with the per mile tax.
Can we please add on Outlaw Radio Network's website in the merch section? Can we add a picture of Jay Inslee's face
With a
the
mushroom
phrase
stamp.
Governor Glory Hole under it? Can we do that?
Sure.
Can we get those made? I think those would sell well. I think if you're in the chat room, would you buy Governor Glory Hole t-shirts? All right.
You've got to get the right look for the photo. It's got to be.
Oh, I've got a great photo.
It's got to be. It's got to be the governor smiling like a donut,
Right? With his mouth open.
Yeah.
Maybe his hands in the air like this.
Mick said that the White House, that Biden does not have that much control.
I agree.
Maybe
Mick's correct.
But I think he does, right? Can't he open up or slow down the release from the strategic reserves?
Well, so he's done
Yeah.
that. He's done that. It made no impact on gas prices whatsoever. It was too little, too late. And I don't disagree with anything that's being said. I do not believe for 1 second the president, whether good or bad, with reference to gas prices, has any control over anything other than the what's the phrase I'm looking for? The consumer sentiment. Like a president can make people feel good about the economy, make them feel good about paying whatever price gas is. But I do not believe that there's any president has any control over gas whatsoever, unless you're talking about like the president going to the Saudis and saying, "Can you cut oil production?" And then when they give you the middle finger and go team up with Russia, who cares anyway? I don't think there's much evidence to support the president having any control over gas prices. But I could honestly be wrong.
All right, I'm going to ask Dennis a very important question on the Facebook side, so don't go anywhere. If you're AM, enjoy the commercials. Enjoy the commercials.
Like, I don't believe the president.
Outlaw Radio. Okay, Dennis, I have a
I'm still
question
talking
for you.
about this. I'm totally into it now. Sorry,
Do you think we could take that last segment where we proclaim him Governor Glory Hole? Could that be our new show promo? Do you think that could air on the network as a show promo?
Dude, not on a Christian radio station. Are you fucking nuts?
I mean here. Not in Atlanta.
Yes.
Wait,
Send
it
that
could-
to the
it could
religious
totally
radio
air
station.
on Atlanta.
Oh wait, we could
They're
make
playing rap. Have you listened?
we could make Governor Glory
Serious.
Hole, and we could take the word glory, put a beep in it, so they think it says asshole, and then that would cater. That'd be fun. No,
Wow.
locally, because you said we need a new promo.
I could see the
Or it
owner of
could
that
be
station.
Governor
We
Glory
do, but I
playing-
mean, we still need the one that I was talking about,
but we could do
and the secondary one we could do with a clip of.
Governor Glory Hole.
Well, We'll work it out. I'll see if I can edit it.
You're going to make a promo that says Governor. You're going to make a promo with Governor Glory Hole. I swear to fucking God, if you do that, I will worship the ground you walk on. I will bow at the feet of DJD and proclaim you the best board op yet worst employee at this radio station for allowing us to have a promo that talks about Governor Glory Hole.
Wow.
Wow, I feel so special.
My God.
This is an emergency broadcast alert.
Sweet.
Governor
sweet,
Glory Hole has
sweet.
declared an emergency.
Can you make a top of the hour liner that says you're listening to KITZ and KGTK, Silverdale, Olympia, blah, 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 home of Governor Glory Hole?
Yeah, I don't think that would make a good station ID.
I think it'd make a
Ownership
great
group. I don't know. They may love it. They may hate it.
Located in the state of Governor Glory
Could
Hole.
you imagine that phone call from somebody at the governor's office
I'll take it.
to the station ownership?
I'll take it.
Right? They're sitting there doing this Second Amendment lawsuit, and they're suing somebody, and they get the the governor's apparently upset that one of your radio stations
All
is
right.
airing a promo.
We're coming back.
Outlaw Radio, home of Governor Glory Hole.
I'm Brandy Cruz, host of the Undivided Podcast, and you're listening to Outlaw Radio. Good luck.
Boy, we need to reach out to Brandy again and get her on the show again.
We need to have her do a promo that calls him Governor Glory Hole.
Oh my God. I think Brandy would be on par with that. By the way, Dennis, watch the phone because Alex asked if there's a call-in number. So I wonder if Alex is offended at the Governor Glory Hole nickname. We'll have to find out.
I know that we've got a phone call coming in, but when we're done, if you guys don't mind, I would like to have a bit of a conversation over some stuff that's broken locally here over the last couple of weeks with Representative Jim Walsh and Ari Hoffman and others that have been doing FOIA requests into the governor and the COVID situation. And
Which
if you guys
governor?
haven't, Glory Hole.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll I'll talk about that when we're done with our phone call here.
All right, we got a phone call on the line. Hello, Alex. Happy New Year, man. Thanks for calling Outlaw
Radio Network
Alex.
today on
Alex.
this show in particular.
Hello.
Oh, there he is. What's up, Alex? What's going on, man?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, Alex. Were you a former Marine? I think
Good.
I know you.
No, I wasn't in the Marine, but I am a little nervous calling in.
Oh,
right
don't be
now.
nervous, bud.
I'm
Take a
worried
deep
about
breath.
that. I've never been on the radio.
It's okay. Relax. Have some fun with us, brother. There you go.
All
And
right.
maybe a shot of tequila or something.
Bourbon.
No,
Yeah.
I don't drink.
Well, you're a smart lad. I can appreciate
Yeah.
that. Talk to us. What's on your
But,
mind?
Not much, fellas. Just I was wondering about your views of 2024. Who you guys think is going to get elected? I hope
It's a good question.
Trump.
Yeah, good question and great
Personally.
conversation, man. Thank you for it. You know what, man? We've actually had this conversation a couple times.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? You said you think
Oh.
you're hoping it's Trump?
I hope it's Trump because I think he's personally, when he was running back in 2018 and all that stuff, I thought he did a great job with tax stuff and all that sort of war keeping them at. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really.
It's okay. You're right. It was 2016.
I'm really nervous, man. I've never been on the radio.
It's okay. He
but-
kept us out of any extra wars, didn't he? You know, hey, if this makes you feel better, Kevin sitting here to my left is a devout, lifelong Democrat. Nothing wrong with that.
Hoorah!
But I got him to vote for Trump, man. This guy,
first
he
time,
voted.
yeah.
Yeah, the first time he voted
First
for
time.
Trump. The second time he wasn't on his meds, so
Wow.
unfortunately his hand slipped. He voted for Biden. But he's since repented. Yeah, and asked
And
for
he's
forgiveness.
apologized on air
Yes.
for doing that.
He has. He's apologized, repented. He's gone to church. He's asked for forgiveness. I understand he's in line for communion next week. So
That's right.
Forgive
me, Father, for I've sinned.
He's come a long way.
Hey, listen.
Awesome,
Are
guys.
you concerned
Thanks
at
for-
all though that with the risk of charges pending from the DOJ, all the negative press, and what we saw out of the midterm elections where, Republicans should have cleaned up in the midterms, and just the name Donald Trump was enough to motivate enough moderates and people on the left to get to the polls to stop whatever the red wave was supposed to be. Is there a concern that maybe he's just too abrasive now to be the guy? Alex?
You're asking me.
Yeah.
Me personally, I kind of like that attitude in a president, right? Because it really sets a tone for the rest of the country. And I think that that's a good tone to have, because it's a very I'm missing the word here.
It's okay. Relax. Take your time. It's
Strong.
all good.
It
bud.
makes us look strong having Trump as our frontline guy, someone who's not scared, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, Alex, man, I think you get a point. I wonder if he's electable. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know you like him, and I would rather have him at this point than Biden or Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom or whoever the Democrats end up putting up in 2024. I don't know if he's electable. All right, Alex,
I agree, because of all the controversy going around him lately and all that, which may cause issues to having him as the president, right?
It may. Yep, it may. Let me ask you a question. How long we got before break?
Couple minutes.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Alex. Hold on. Let me ask you a question here, bud. How did you feel Trump handled January 6th?
What happened January?
Yeah, tell us what are your thoughts, your feelings? How do you feel Trump handled January 6th? When the people stormed the Capitol.
What did he do on January 6th?
Well, he gave a speech, which was fine. He had people come to D.C. To protest the election, which was also just fine. There was nothing wrong with that. But when people stormed the Capitol, it took him 4 hours to put out a message to basically ask people to stop. I'm just asking you, because for me, right, that's where my ship kind of parted ways with him. That's where I was like, that to me, that wasn't leadership. So I've been very open about the idea that if he gets the nomination, I'm going to support him. But I personally hope that he steps back and maybe lets a guy like Ron DeSantis run, somebody who's not as divisive. But because to me, Trump instituted some incredible programs. My business was never better than it was under Trump. I don't think that economically or safety-wise, this country was ever in better shape than it was under Trump. But I also think the country has never been more divided, except maybe during the Civil War. Does that make sense?
The only excuse I have for Trump is, like, would you be on Twitter putting out messages all day with a piece of ass like Melania Trump at your house?
That's a great question. I think it's a fair point. No, which makes me think maybe Trump doesn't have the sex drive he used to have.
Just sitting in bed with her all night. Me personally.
Well, I don't blame you for that. I love my wife, so no, I would kick Melania Trump out of my bed, or my wife would literally skin me alive. She would attach a quick disconnect switch to my penis.
To join you and your wife?
Nope. No, that's a quick trip to hell.
Threesomes?
No, I would. She'd probably rip my. No, son. She would probably rip my tongue out and shove it in my ear. And then if I'm lucky, to be a quick death with a sharp knife from ear to ear. After that,
how about the guy in the Seahawks shirt? Does he ever do threesomes or no?
I don't know. I've heard some rumors, but I can't comment on them.
Wow, I don't think we're
with
going
the
down
other two guys in the room, or with girls.
Well, not our web designer or our CEO. No, I don't think either one of them are going to go down that road. I don't know. We can ask them, but it'd have to be in private. I couldn't ask them live on air.
Just do a foursome right on the screen right now.
And
you
let's
want.
remember we're on AM.
Yeah, you lost. I think you lost everybody at the "Would you rather" comment. But Kevin, it was nice to see you get up and take a jog there. I appreciate it. Were you able to? I don't know. You still there, Alex?
No, the line was
All right.
Mine was clear.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
let
listen.
me just say this.
Alex was really nervous. He was having a hard time putting words
I'm glad Alex
together.
called.
In a sentence.
This is what happens when you call a radio show at 7:38 in the evening. You want to talk about threesomes and foursomes, and
no, but he wasn't. And I just
sometimes
don't know.
I do have threesomes. I use both hands.
I'm trying to. I don't know how we. How did we go from talking about Trump on January 6th to threesomes and foursomes? I'm not sure how that correlation occurred.
Well, and then we just found out that K-Dog can switch hands and gain a stroke.
Right? And gain a stroke. Yeah.
TMI.
Anyway, he had a really good point before we went all weird on us. There's a large group of people that still want Trump to be the guy.
There is a large group. I don't think it's that big anymore.
No.
Maybe 15-20% of Republicans, I think.
But would you agree that 90% of Republicans would back him if he were the nominee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's electable. Before the midterms, I thought Donald Trump was the most serious challenger to Biden's re-election.
He is under one circumstance.
What?
You ready for this? Watch this. Trump becomes electable if Democrats try to stop him from running using the court system. If they attempt to martyr him politically, then he becomes electable.
Yeah, because they're doing the marketing for him.
You bet.
Right.
Then it's look what they're doing to me. Look at how they're persecuting me. They're going to do this to all of you too.
And he's back on Twitter.
Has he gone back? Did he go back? Has he actually sent out a real tweet?
I think he sent out one, but
let
he's
me
still
check.
going with Truth Social.
Yeah, which Truth Social is in its own trouble right now, financially.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it's just, I will say this. Trump brought a lot of really good ideas
Now,
to
the
the
last
table.
post he made was January 8th of 2021.
So but I think he's lost that edge now. He's lost the edge because he's lost the support of too many people that were supporting him in the past. And I do not think that the Republican Party wins the presidential race if Trump is the nominee. I don't, because
I agree.
If Ron DeSantis is, Nikki Haley is, there's a host of others that would be excellent candidates to run against Joe Biden.
Do you actually think Biden can beat Trump? If Biden were to go for a second term and Trump were the man from the Republicans, you think Biden can beat Trump?
I don't think Biden beat him in the last election, to be honest.
Only if he stays in his basement.
Yeah, I mean, let's assume
The less he talks, the better he does.
Right. I mean, let's assume there's no electoral anomalies or anything like that. Just a straight, honest to God election.
No, I don't think there were too many anomalies in the last election for me to 100% tell you that I believe that he won the last time. I believe that there was, and for what did it for me was I was totally on the fence until I saw 2,000 Mules. When I saw the evidence presented in a clear and concise fashion, where it laid out with video evidence to show us that, hey, you have thousands of people placing multiple groups of ballots in multiple boxes, and when it was on video.
Yeah, no,
right. I'm like looking at that going, that's a big issue.
Yep.
And mathematically, they showed how many people they needed in order to swing the election, and the anomalies. And to me, that's what led to January 6th was that there were legitimate questions, and it was fine if the answers did not come back in a way that I liked. The problem was they deserved to be adjudicated.
Well, let me answer Tom's question. I disagree with Paul. I think Trump would lose to Biden right now.
Really?
Hold on. I base that on the midterms. The midterms showed us that it's going to take a very specific formula for Republicans to have success nationally. And in order for that to happen, they have got to distance themselves from the caustic abrasiveness that is Trump. Talk about it some more.
And the illegal aliens that vote.
Yeah, well, they're from Pluto, except for the ones from Uranus. Outlaw Radio.
Girls are from
Back
Uranus.
after this. Hold up.
Men go to Mars.
Foursomes?
I always miss the good stuff. Damn it!
I know. I was
had
just
to pee.
thinking. I was just thinking. As soon as you got up, he segued from talking about Trump to asking if we have threesomes and does K-Dog have foursomes?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And
He was talking about Melania.
Yeah,
and
but I
Trump.
left before the Melania thing.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean that happened before I left.
And then
so.
he asked if I had threesomes with the other guys in the room, and I'm like, "What? That's just
Yeah, he
stuff,
got
man.
way bizarre.
if he would have, he should have just asked Hunter. Should have just asked Hunter.
Hunter has answers.
No.
And look, listen. By the way, I got nothing against if you're a guy and you want to have threesomes and foursomes with a whole bunch of other guys. More power to you. This is America, land of the free, home of the brave. You do you, boo. That's just not my. It's not my thing.
No crossing the streams.
Well, no, you won't. You go knock yourself out. Listen. I'm a true conservative.
No sword fights
What?
for me.
I am a true conservative.
You're conservative what?
I believe that I need to stand up other people's lives. I need to let people do whatever they want to that doesn't infringe upon mine. So if 2 men or 4 men or 8 men want to have a giant orgy in their bedroom,
you're saying you're a social conservative?
I'm a
'Cause
conservative.
That's not what a social conservative is.
No, a social conservative is somebody that
Libertarian.
wants to regulate things. Like
30 seconds.
We can't have gay marriage. The fabric of America can be destroyed. Yeah, the divorce rate between heterosexual Christian couples is like 60%, but you're worried about the fabric of the nation. Anyway.
His gold's showing through.
Exactly.
Paul's all checked out now. Paul doesn't want to have this conversation with me.
Kevin.
Paul's like, fuck it.
Kevin, I've had that.
This is Spike Cohen, the reigning and defending Libertarian vice presidential candidate, and you're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network.
Outlaw Radio. K-Dog, the voice of reason. St. Paul, the loose cannon.
You're going off on a tangent tonight, aren't you?
By the way, it's the last show of 2022.
It is. It is.
It's kind of perfect.
I think it's
microphone.
Great. We talk in the microphone, Andy. You know what's great is we made it the entire year.
She's the
without
only
being-
person I know in radio, Kevin, that'll have a conversation while sitting in the corner. You're like, turn on the microphone. Nope.
Well, the microphone doesn't move. Dennis gave us a tutorial. He said, don't touch it.
No,
just
you
leave
could
it.
swing it back and forth that way.
But that's
See?
when we have issues.
Andy, you can swing both directions. It's
No.
fine.
That's There you go. Look at that. It's just that simple. Dun 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 dun.
It's probably my fault because on our promo today, I
Yeah.
put it's the last show of 2022. Let's see what chaos will ensue.
Yeah.
I called it. You're welcome.
Outstanding. Nice job. All right, Paul. So what is going
So
on?
let me-
with- so I
yeah.
need you to break this down.
So listen, this was all just sent to me.
Oh, what are we breaking down?
Wait,
So
what?
I'm going to read it.
Topic?
Yeah, it's a new topic.
Well, Representative Jim Walsh, we've had him on the show in the past and stuff, and we've talked about him and stuff that he does.
Good man.
So this is what he posted. So we're gonna all learn about this at the same time. And when this was sent to me, I've only had a chance to just glance over it. I was like, holy Shiite Sunni Muslim. So he says this is important. Ari Hoffman has used an exhaustive public records request to investigate the current governor. I thought
Glory
everybody was
hole.
going to say, yeah, there we go.
Governor Glory Hole.
The governor's correspondence in the early stages of his COVID mandates. The results undermine most of the premises and arguments that the governor
Glory hole.
and his allies made at the time. They seem to have known their official reasons for the mandates were false.
What is allies be called? The glory holers? Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
Maybe the glorious holes.
Glory holers.
Glory holists.
Glory
No,
holes.
that's the train lined up to use the glory hole.
I'm never
Sorry,
gonna. I'm
Pete,
never
we're
gonna.
off
I'm
the
never gonna look at
rails.
a bathroom the same. That's all I can say. I'm gonna knock before I go in. So is the governor there? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, we need little stickers. You know how Biden had the "I did that."
Is Governor Glory Hole in here?
Makes me want to run around with a hole saw to all the public restrooms in Olympia.
And just make a sticker that says Jay Inslee was here and make it circular so it goes around the hole.
So it's Governor Glory Hole and the glass blowers. There you go. There you go.
Wow, dude.
Governor Glory Hole and the glass blowers.
You better be careful. You are gonna have some he hims, she they was, and others coming after you was. All right.
Go ahead, Paul.
All right.
So, come on, Paul, stay on topic.
I'm trying, man. It's a little bit hard to start talking about glory holes. Ari Hoffman, a month before he imposed vaccine mandates that were copied by cities and counties in Washington, Democratic Governor Jay Inslee,
glory hole,
state and local health officials knew the vaccine didn't stop the spread. They even discussed a party celebrating 100% vaccination in a group, which was a super spreader event. According to the 7/16/21 email chain among King County health officials, quote, I heard yesterday from 2 tracers that they are hearing stories all day from people who are vaccinated and getting COVID still. In fact, one event was a party to celebrate everyone being vaccinated. These are from the emails back and forth between the governor and his office. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Here's the exact quote from the email. This coming from Ari Hoffman in his records request. And I quote, this is a quote again. I heard yesterday from 2 tracers that they are hearing stories all day from people who are vaccinated and still getting COVID. In fact, one event was a party to celebrate everyone being vaccinated. It required people to bring their vaccination card to get in, and they've already identified 9 people who got COVID at that event. One tracer said every case she talked to that day was already vaccinated. So they're anxious to hear what you're all thinking about quarantine and masking guidance for vaccinated folks. This is in an email going back and forth to the governor. Then Megan here from Steve Pergram about a party that some SCCA staff attended, and at least one, a positive but likely multiple SCCA staff. This is the info I got from Steve. I don't know who these particular people are. They're only identified by first names. Obviously, these are people that are familiar to the governor. If at SCCA notified him of a positive staff member who was fully vaccinated, and as they spoke about it, Steve had heard about the event that his staff member went to from a friend and his who decided not to go. It was described as a, quote, Burning Man-like event, but indoors. Sounds like hundreds of people attended, and they all had vaccine cards for entry. Vance, can't imagine who that was, has given a heads up to Joni about the event so we can look more into it, and I will follow up with the IP that talked to Steve about it, and so that we can get more info. I will get the name and the contact and blah, 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 blah. So that's what it goes on. So then this says, sorry for the bad news, signed James. And that, by the way, I'm gonna read this verbatim. James Lewis, MD, MPH, in quotations, he, him, can't make that up. Medical epidemiologist, COVID-19 healthcare response, communicable disease, epidemiology, and immunization section, public health, Seattle and King County. That's just one email.
What's the date on that, please?
Well, that's 7/16/21.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The party, and this is again from Ari Hoffman, the party, quote, required people to bring their vaccination card to get in. They've already identified 9+ people who got COVID at that one. One tracer said every case she had talked to that day had already been vaccinated. This is in July of 21. We were all stuck at home then.
And take it one step further. On October 18th of 21 is when thousands of people were fired by the state of Washington for not getting the vaccine.
Bingo.
So that was July. They knew in July that the vaccine was not preventing transmission. But in October, they still fired thousands of people for not getting the vaccine based on what? If it wasn't to stop the spread of the vaccine, then why were you firing them?
They already knew the vaccine didn't work.
Exact. So why did you fire them? What was the power play about? Like that's what I don't understand. I'm not disputing what anything Paul said. I just don't understand.
Sure.
No,
Federal money.
This sounds like a class action suit. Maybe.
So I'm in the middle of doing a job for a guy who worked for the ferries and was fired because he refused to get vaccinated. And so every time I'm over there working, he's talking to me about this, and it has affected them huge. I mean, it's a massive effect on him and his family because of this. And he has always felt, he was like, I don't believe in vaccines. I don't believe that they harm me, and I chose not to inject myself with a something that's being tested still. And he's older, he's in his 60s, and he goes, I know that if I get this virus, it can hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
I know it. He goes, but I'd rather take my chance on not getting the virus and taking the steps to protect myself, washing my hands, wearing a mask, that kind of stuff. He goes, than intentionally injecting myself. And so I think this raises immense questions legally, ethically. And we've talked about it for the last couple of years, haven't we, guys? Right? We've talked about we shouldn't be forcing people to do this. They knew the whole damn time. Mm-hmm. They knew within, it sounds to me like a very short period of time. I don't know. When did the vaccine start in 21? Was it June, July?
No. July
so this,
2020.
Well, this email was July 16th of 21.
Right.
So the vaccines,
December of 20 is when the first vaccine started.
Okay.
Right.
So within 6 months, they knew that the vaccines weren't stopping people from getting COVID.
Yep.
Clearly, they knew. They were well aware.
They knew before that.
Can I disagree with you slightly about something?
Absolutely.
You said this brings to mind more questions. This does not give me more questions. This gives me a lot of answers. Because we've hypothesized on this show.
Well, that's fair.
We've hypothesized on this show what it was all about, right?
Well, remember we worked with the lady that Dennis called a conspiracy kook job, whack job, a noodle. And she was all about doing the FOIA requests, and she had the emails from Governor Inslee,
glory hole,
and oh my God, the Gates Foundation, where he was specifically asking them how to proceed and what policies to put into place.
Yep.
So the guy that was working on the vaccine and was going to profit in the neighborhood of billions of dollars was advising Governor in how to approach this from a public policy standpoint.
But this answers all my questions now. Because we have talked on this show about, well, what was going on? Like, what were they doing? Like, were they really looking out for the public's best interest? Or did they have poor information? Or do they just see things differently than we do? Like, all that. This answers all my questions. Am I the only person that feels like at this point, like this, it won't be because you live in Washington State, but I believe Inslee should be impeached.
Yes.
I believe this.
But you can't.
This should be an impeachable offense for Inslee.
I think he should be in the brig.
Totally. Well, I don't think he violated.
You want to put him in a small
law.
room with a bunch of sailors? Who?
I don't think he violated any
glory
law. He did. He was legally authorized under the Emergency Powers Act to do everything that he did. We can argue if the Emergency Powers Act is fair or not, but he didn't violate the law.
Which, by the way, Republicans and Democrats are now lining up to together a joint bill that they're proposing.
Well, I certainly hope so. They should have done it last
to get
session.
rid of the emergency powers.
And they didn't do it last session.
Yeah,
so.
they need to. Sorry.
So, go ahead.
So, under the Emergency Powers Act, you're right. He didn't technically do anything, against
Illegal.
the law. But what about there's got to be some kind of an ethics violation here, knowing that, they knew whenever that email was written.
You think?
You don't think there's anything as far as ethics go that can be done?
Wait till I read you the next email.
Oh,
because ethics are a
Quickly,
big.
You got a minute. I'm just telling you have a minute before break.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't want you to miss time to read that.
No, it's okay. So I won't read the email. I'll just read the first header. Okay. An email 4 days later, the subject line read, quote, "Please do not distribute PHSKC COVID-19 outbreak summary 7/20 of 21. Discussed how to control the messaging now that breakthrough cases were becoming the norm." So we'll talk about that when we come back after break. But everybody should be pissed off about this. A lot of people won't because they think Jay Inslee is a savior.
Hold it. I'm willing to bet there's going to be more people pissed off about this than you think.
I hope.
They're just not going to know because legacy media is not going to cover it.
Correct.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right, we're going to break. When we come back, we'll keep this going. So stick around. Outlaw Radio.
I took horse to Wormer and it worked.
Everybody reach to the top. Everybody reach up, don't stop. Everybody reach to the top. Go, 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 go. Hot girl. Hot boys. Hot girl. Hot boys.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network.
Put 'em up, put 'em up. Put 'em up, put 'em up. Put 'em up, put 'em up, put 'em up.
Be proud of what you did. Own it.
Oh my God,
it's true.
I can already see them touring as Governor Glory Hole and the Glass Blowers. I just think that's. I'm going to create a set list for him.
His
too.
number one fan will be Dale Chihuly.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to hell. I'm
Facts.
going to hell.
Listen, the only reason, Tom, I don't know if I agree with your question. I understand the premise, but he could always come back and say
the hole's too small.
We know that and I believe this. We know that the vaccine has helped to reduce the impact of COVID on those who get it. They have some evidence that shows that the hospitalization, seriousness, and death caused by COVID was reduced because of the vaccine. So he could argue, I don't know if he'd win or not, but he could argue, I still proceeded on the path that we were going because we were trying to protect Washingtonians.
That's like saying you have to go to the dentist and get your cavity filled or else.
No, I'm not saying he's right. I'm trying to think about this from a court standpoint.
Sure.
About whether or not he violated something in ethics. You know what I mean? That would be my question. I still think that he actively misled the people of the state of Washington.
That's unethical.
Hold on. But again, is that a law? Is that did he break a law? And
yes.
I don't what law did he break then? Listen, I'm all for it. Throw the bastard in jail. I'd be all fine for that. But I need to know
good question.
What law
I'm kind of there with Kevin. Laura, you obviously have something in mind here. Tell us what you're
May
thinking.
2020 conference call that I overheard as I was leaving work, where he was calling in to talk to the University of Washington Medical, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to get too specific. Seattle Children's, Fred Hutch, and other hospital leaders throughout the city of Seattle. How are we going to market this? I want to make sure you guys get the money as long as you're backing me up.
Hold on, you're talking about collusion.
Shortly thereafter, University of Washington and Seattle Children said, we're not playing ball.
What?
They did not want to get in bed on this.
Hold on. I don't have it. Hold on.
I have emails as well.
I don't have an issue as a guy with
collusion is a crime.
As a guy, well, but hold on. As a guy with a public relations degree, which I have, I don't have an issue.
That hasn't aged well.
Listen, I don't have an issue with him wanting to control, with him working to market it or control the narrative. Because let's pretend that this really was the pandemic that he claimed it was. They still have to control a narrative and get the word out and market the vaccine or put forth a narrative to the people of the state that it pushes what they think needs to happen to keep people safe. So I don't have an issue. Hold on. I don't have an
honest narrative.
Right, well, hold on. That's the
problem.
Hold on. That's the point. So I don't have an issue with the phrase, how are we going to present this or what's our narrative going to be? I don't have an issue with that. What I have an issue with is the fact that they beat the drum that if you got the vaccine, you were protecting yourself and your loved ones. Correct. Well, you weren't protecting your loved ones by getting the vaccine. You were only protecting yourself, and you should have had the right to make that decision yourself, Lori.
They were already controlling the narrative before me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Remember, Paul brought it up. First one to break the news, December?
December
2019?
19, yeah.
And then where was the first case in the United States?
Washington
Seattle.
State.
Kirkland.
North Seattle.
And what time frame was that?
February. End of February.
False.
Yeah, I had it.
False. Totally false.
That was the first
Well, the
advertised
first
case.
documented one was.
No, not even first documented.
Did you get a kids meal, Hunter?
For him.
You got your dad a kids meal? Yeah.
2 students came back from the province in
Mhm.
China and proceeded to go to Seattle Children's for a clinical seminar.
Right.
And then they were sent to
But
their
did they-
dorm room to quarantine.
But did they know it was COVID at that point? Or
Yes.
They did.
We got an email.
But it wasn't released publicly because
Nope.
everything publicly was that nursing home in Kirkland was
Right.
the epicenter.
They decided who would get blamed. They decided, or I don't want to say blamed, where the origin would be and all of that, because they did not want to make anyone or any of the families at Seattle Children's already
So it was
more nervous.
It was
and-
a dishonest
Correct.
declaration of patient
Correct.
zero.
Yeah, because these patient zeros, 2 of them who flew back together and then went to the clinical
All right, coming
seminar.
back. All right, Outlaw Radio.
Welcome back to Outlaw Radio Network.
Hey, Dennis, can I get breaking news music really quick? I'm sorry. We got breaking news. Breaking news on Outlaw Radio, brought to you by Black Ring Spirits, by the way. If you were not so drunk you don't remember Christmas Eve, you can be so drunk that you don't remember New Year's Eve. Just do it at home where you're safe and drink a lot of the fine spirits from Black Ring Spirits.
Fake news and liberal tears
There you
available
go.
now.
The breaking news is Paul got food delivered to him, and his son brought him a happy kids meal.
Well, that was the bag. Hey, listen,
So,
if I could imagine
did you
what
get
it would
some
be like in a
nuggies?
glory hole, it would have been the 3 bites I just scarfed down to that sandwich.
Did you get some chicken nuggies? Is that what you got?
No.
Maybe a Frosty?
No.
No?
No. I'm a little frosty over this story, though.
Some churros?
A little
maybe?
salty.
A little salty.
What did
Yeah.
Hunter, what did you bring him off the kids' meal?
Didn't he? Brought me a half-pound beef and cheddar sandwich.
Okay. From Arby's? All right.
Yes, my car's a stick, and which is, I politely refer to as my millennial anti-theft
Anti-theft
device.
mission.
Yeah.
Can Hunter drive it?
I did teach him. I wouldn't trust him to drive it on the road yet, but he can drive it around my house and drive it around the road, So as we went to break, I was talking about this newest email. Interim director of...
Hold on. Since we're at new hour, let's just recap this really quick.
Recap the headline.
So this is basically going back to emails that were exchanged between people within the Inslee administration.
Yeah.
Basically showing that they knew in July of 21 that the vaccine itself was not working to stop the spread of COVID.
Correct.
That even if you got the vaccine, you could still get COVID. And they knew that because one of the events that they called a super spreader event was an actual event they held.
The state employees held where
they had to show proof of vaccination to get in because they were celebrating the fact that 100% of this agency or this group of employees have been vaccinated, only to find out that then they started spreading COVID.
turned
amongst
into a
all of them.
super spreader event, literally.
So I just wanted to set that up for new listeners.
Exactly. So Ari Hoffman then goes on to write, Interim Director of King County Public Health, Dennis Warsham says, quote, "We are being clear in our conversation that we do expect people who are vaccinated to become infected with COVID. As our population becomes more vaccinated, we do anticipate we will see more, given that more people are vaccinated and that vaccines are not 100% effective in protecting you from the virus." The email was in response to Seattle's then mayor, Jenny Durkin, who CC'd King County exec Dow Constantine and staff for both offices and raised concerns about the uptick in cases among the vaccinated. Not just that there were some, an uptick. So that was SCCA. That's the Seattle Cancer Care Alliance. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I was kind of wondering what the SCCA was.
I was going to get there, but
Durkin asked, and I quote, "Some of these numbers are troubling." Duh. "Do you have any more information on number and severity of cases in individuals that are fully vaccinated? Can we / should we start tracking that in a separate slide?" Worsham answered, "To the mayor's question, she is asking about severity of disease of those that are vaccinated. The message we have been using that aligns with the CDC is that the vaccines are effective in preventing severity of the illness, hospitalizations, and death." There were some funny word games there, right?
Yes, there were.
Very funny little word games. Well, we never said it wouldn't keep you from getting it. We just said that it made things better, right? So it's plausible deniability for them.
It's like the weatherman.
Right. Yeah. 20% chance of rain today. Really? Does that mean it's going to rain 20% of the day? Or I have a 1 in 5 chance of getting hit by a raindrop? What are you saying?
That's a great question, actually.
Or is it going to cover 20% of the local area?
Great. There's another one. I hadn't even thought about that. That's wonderful. God dang. Now you give me a whole nother path to think about.
And what defines the local area?
Right. Dushin was included in the discussion as we're...
Who?
Dushin?
Oh.
I don't know who that is.
He's a member of Governor Gloria Hole and the Glassblowers. And Dushin. Go ahead.
I thought you were making fun of the name.
Douche.
I am.
No, Paul.
Durkin.
I thought we were talking about Durkin.
I'm reading Ari Hoffman's message here, and he calls it Dushin.
Okay.
Duchin. Was included in the discussion as were King County health official and epidemiologist Sargis Pogosyan and Ann Birkland, chief of staff for King County Regional Homeless Authority. The group decided to push forward with the talking point for the mayor that there was a, quote, higher incidence rate among unvaccinated residents compared to the vaccinated.
Quickly, Jeffrey Dushin is he's the health officer and chief of the communicable diseases epidemiology and immunization section for King County Public Health.
Okay. Just days before the exchange, Democratic Governor
Glory hole.
Jay Inslee had called Trump supporters and anyone who would not get vaccinated a bioreactor facility and blamed them for the spreading of COVID, while knowing the entire time that was not true.
So he politicized it.
Absolutely. Which gets to what I was going to, my personal feelings on the whole, if you don't get vaccinated, you're fired, is because I believe wholeheartedly that the governor believed people who weren't getting vaccinated weren't doing it for political reasons because they were Republican or conservative. And I firmly believe, and I think that this adds a lot of weight to that. So we were talking about breaking the laws. Well, isn't discrimination
Yes, it is.
illegal?
Yes, it is.
One, there's also, it came up in the chat. You could argue with the emails that Lori were talking about that there's conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So,
yeah,
those
I
all
don't
sound like
I would
impeachable
take
things to me.
I would take it a step further. He wants control.
That's what I was going to say.
And
I don't
to
think
get
it's about
control. He's going to have his faithful follow
Right.
everything.
Sure.
And
He wants-
those that don't fall in line, cut them out.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's that. I don't think it's that even that deep. I mean, you guys could be right, but I don't think it's that deep. I think for Jay Inslee, this was you will obey.
Oh, probably.
And that's why I don't even think it was. I don't even think it was politically based. So much of it was power based.
Yeah. Oh,
You
that's-
will obey. I have given the order. I am the governor of this state. You will do what I tell you to, and if you don't, you will not work for me. I am your boss. So you won't get the vaccine, even though I told you to. You're all fired. And I think it was maybe you guys are right. Maybe he was looking at political party and ideological affiliation. But I just think for him it was you will obey.
Yep.
It could be.
Because his boss was telling him so.
And I'm just going to say this.
His I think more his wife than
Bill Gates.
Yeah, maybe.
I will say this. Jay Inslee goes up for re-election in 2024. Okay. If he runs for re-election, which, I think a lot of people are assuming. A lot of what I heard 2 years ago was he wasn't going to run for election last time and then did. But let's pretend for a moment that he runs for re-election in 2024.
I've already heard he's raised like $600,000.
Yeah, but he can reassign that to anybody else he wants
Bobby.
to. So if Bob Ferguson's going to run, he can opt out. And it's a smart thing to do politically, right?
Right.
You're the most powerful guy in the state politically. You raise a lot of money. You can then hand that money off to your handpicked successor. It's smart politically, even though it's kind of a douchebag move.
Yep.
Let's pretend for a minute he runs for re-election. How can anybody in this state vote for him?
Well,
I mean, honestly, how can anybody in this state vote for him knowing the lies that came out of his mouth about COVID alone?
But they're ignorant to those lies, and they don't, no one's listening to.
Yeah,
this is not being covered in a big way. The average lemming voter is not going to be outraged by this because they're going to be unaware of it.
If Mackenzie Bezos got out and started talking in her social circles in Washington State, maybe there would be a change. Maybe.
Are you a fan of Mackenzie Bezos? Are you a fan of her? Or do you not have an opinion?
Regarding what?
Just
the
her,
divorce from
just
Jeff?
her in
Sure.
general. No, not from the divorce, but just her in general. I'm having a hard time figuring her out. That's a topic for another time.
I think she has good intentions, but I don't know that she has the background for
She's
them.
single now, you know. She got a divorce from the second guy.
Oh, okay. Great.
And she's giving more of her money away.
Kevin,
Why are you
Kevin,
why
how
are
do you feel about her?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No, because so she left Jeff Bezos. She took a big chunk of his money.
She didn't leave Jeff Bezos.
I thought she did. I thought she was one that filed.
Jeff Bezos was
Is
caught,
a douchebag.
caught
Yeah.
with a nonprofit head from REI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So hold on. So
was
I don't know how
conflict
to
of
feel
interest.
about her. Sometimes I feel like she's got a really good moral compass on her. She's trying to do the right thing. And then sometimes I feel like she's a glad-handing, like money-seeking, like power-wielding. I don't know. I don't know. And listen, before Holly comes into the chat and says, Kevin wouldn't be saying this kind of stuff about a woman. Well, I just said that her ex-husband was a douche. So I think when you have that much money, you're a tool. Sorry. You have to be a tool to have that much money. You have to be. It's the requirement. If you have billions of dollars, you did not get there because you were a kind, generous person.
You didn't build that.
You didn't. Donald Trump did not get all of his money by being an extra sweet, rosy guy and offering cuddles.
Correct.
You
But
have to be. You
I
have
think
to be.
Bezos is more of a tool just because he's having a bridge taken down to move his yacht over in Europe. That's
More power to him.
Are you serious?
Yes.
And then he'll rebuild the bridge.
No.
It's like, where does he want to move his yacht to that he has to have a bridge
He's
taken
having
apart?
it specially built over.
Oh, so once it's built, it has, wow.
Poor
can't
planning.
get out of the port.
Poor
I know,
planning, by
I
the
know,
way.
right?
I know. I'm gonna build my boat where I can't get it out unless I spend another several $1 billion to move a bridge. By the way, Sarah Palin still needs that bridge for nowhere. No, I just listen. There's no part of me that thinks that Jay Inslee
Glory hole.
specifically targeted Republicans so much as he targeted anybody who did not believe him, anybody who would not blindly follow him.
Correct.
I think the power grab in that little bastard's head has gone to his head. I think everything he was about seizing power and trying to prop himself up and trying to make himself look glorious. And I think he really wanted a spot in Biden's
he was
cabinet
pushing hard.
and fell on his face.
Yeah. Because he didn't lose billions on the Washington unemployment site.
Well, I'm going to go check the chat, but he's an idiot. He's just an idiot.
What were you going to say, Tom?
I don't know.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. I was trying to formulate a thought, but it didn't really gel. So it dribbled out my right ear.
Well,
Governor Gloria Hole in the Gobstopper.
Makes you
nicer. That's good. All right.
If it makes you feel better, so there's more.
Oh yes.
There's what?
And I quote, along with more mandates for vaccination from employers, hopefully President Biden started a trend yesterday. This is in the email chain. In that direction, look for unspecified, but hopefully more bold, aggressive directives and mandates from the governor next week. He added, rocky road ahead, We really need to reframe our public education approach to emphasizing vaccination along with the other prevention measures rather than the faded illusion of vaccination instead of other prevention measures. The stellar individual protection afforded by vaccination is no longer, nor is it the dream of getting out from under COVID by July 1st. Effectiveness is still good compared to many other vaccines, and higher coverage would still do us a lot of good. But the vaccine effectiveness is clearly no longer what it was just a couple of months ago, and folks should manage themselves accordingly. So in July of 21, they're having the conversation that, well, I mean, it works, mostly, but it's not going to really do what it as advertised. So they were having that debate 6 months after this vaccine came out. And think of all of the spoon-fed BS that we were given, the constant, level of dribble coming out of the governor's office and the president's office and Dr. Fauci, people losing their jobs, lives being ruined, businesses going under. We're a republic, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And we sacrificed willingly at the tree of fear our liberties to support these mandates. Is this our fault? Did we allow this to happen?
No, I don't think we did. I think we believed that the experts had our best interests in mind, and we accepted that we didn't know everything, that we didn't have access to all the information.
When you say we, you mean?
I mean the collective we, the society we, right?
Okay.
Like if you hire a construction guy to come over, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hire you to come over and you're going to build a retaining wall. Okay. You're the expert that's going to say, well, it needs to be this tall. You need to have this much rock. You need to have this level of displacement. You have, you know what I mean? You're the one that's going to tell me that. And I have to have faith in you as a professional that when you say that, that you're not blowing sunshine up my ass. And so I think a lot of people, the collective we, now there were people that were vocally.
What percentage of the country do you believe did not fall into that line of thinking?
20.
About 20%? I think it's fair. I think it's probably 20%.
But I think the collective we heard them and believed they are looking out for us. They are working with the best information that they have. And I think and listen, I think in the waning moments of COVID when it first started, right, the very beginning,
right,
I think that 20% was actually 5. I think 95% of people in this country were like, we don't have any idea what's going on. We don't know. We're freaking terrified. We're all going to die. And so I think when this originally happened, you had hook, line, and sinker, a majority of the American public that were like, okay. But I think come like October of this year, when his powers were finally allowed to end, I think at that point the number was like 70%. Of people in this country were sick of the mandates and didn't believe any of them anymore. Like they totally, here's God's honest truth.
Yeah.
They totally screwed the pooch.
Just a lot.
They
because
federally or state?
Both.
Okay.
Because if there's
that poor poodle.
Well, keep it away from the glory. Keep it away from the glory.
All I can say is that poor poodle used to go poop and they were like little golf balls, and now he just goes.
Well, but here's the problem, right? Let's pretend that there was a real pandemic tomorrow.
Poor Kevin's like, I don't understand the joke.
Well, we're having a triple one
Hold
right
on.
now, don't
no,
you know?
but this is not hold on. Let's pretend there's a real pandemic tomorrow.
Okay.
Smallpox, something really bad. Okay. You couldn't lock down anything.
Nope.
You couldn't tell people to stay home. You couldn't force businesses to close. You could not get normal law-abiding citizens to do anything.
No one would believe it.
Because they just sat through 2.5+ years of what turned out to be crap and BS and lies fed through the media that carried it and didn't question it.
You're referring specifically to the little boy who cried wolf syndrome.
Yeah, for me to believe anything coming from the government right now, I'd need to see piles of body bags at my local hospital.
Yeah, I think you raise an excellent point. What Tom is saying, I think, is 1,000% true. Hunter, you serve with a lot of guys and gals that are around your age in the most fittest segment of our society.
Well, he's not in the Navy. Settle down.
Well, that just means he doesn't do his time in the barrel. What is the thought process or the thinking in general of folks that are in the real military, the Army?
You're gonna have to run it back. What was the question?
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
Sorry, I was reading something.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope
Did you
she
just
was-
call the show a few minutes ago? I'm just kidding.
No. Yeah. Wow. Okay. We're going to leave that alone. We've just been reading, for those that might just be catching this, we've been reading emails that have been through the Freedom of Information Act. FOIA requests have been made that showed that 6 months after the vaccines came out, the governor of the state of Washington, Governor
Glory hole.
clearly knew, and so did King County and the health officials. All the folks that make these decisions in the state knew within 6 months that the vaccines were not keeping people from getting COVID. Therefore, they knew that the effectiveness, the efficacy, etc., was not what it was advertised. It's not what they were telling people that it was, and yet people were still had their lives destroyed, their businesses lost, they were fired for refusing to get the vaccines and stuff like that. So now that we all know that it was all a big lie, and it was used for power and political gain, and it was used to put pressure on people, and in a lot of ways it was, like, I still believe this, political power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It was used to put the finger on specifically Republicans and conservatives, who more than not tended to be the ones who said, you're not going to force me to get vaccinated. So more often than not, they were the ones that were getting persecuted and losing their jobs and their businesses.
Independents, libertarians.
Yes. Yeah.
And-
Independents and libertarians too. Absolutely. Yeah.
And small businesses that
Yep.
did not contribute to his campaign got hosed in
Oh,
favor of multinational corporations that donated hand over fist to the Democratic Party. But go ahead.
Right. So what is the general consensus of about COVID and the vaccines and stuff for the folks that are in your age bracket in the military?
So most of us, we had to get the vaccine regardless, and
Yeah, you
we
were
just-
volunteered.
Yeah, it just seemed like
Voluntold.
Yep.
it was like more of like we were guinea pigs, kind of.
Mhm.
And I don't know how much y'all know, but I've had my fair share with
We've talked about it.
medical shabam happening. Can't cuss.
No, you can't cuss.
Yeah.
Which
Well done.
sucks for you.
I know. It's like
Really
Just think of the worst 7 words. Those
Yeah.
are the ones you can't say. But keep going.
But yeah, like,
Barfik Nukin feels really good.
But glory hole is allowed.
Especially when one's your governor.
as much as it sucks to say, I just don't think many people care anymore. Like, gosh, I can't remember the last time any of us spoke about COVID at work, vaccines or anything.
But what is the impression?
I have another.
Yeah.
Is it even talked about? Is it a conversation?
It's not a conversation. Like a year ago, Tom, it was a topic of discussion. But nowadays, or where I'm at least down in Texas, none of this exists for us. No one talks about COVID. No one really ever did. We never had any lockdowns. It wasn't. I don't know.
Didn't your base lock down at one point?
Oh, that was
during the shutdown.
That was the start of 2020, I believe.
Yeah.
But after 3 months, no. It was.
It's only two
gone
things
over
come
with.
from Texas.
All right, we're gonna go to break. When we come back, I'm gonna make Andy cry. Stick around.
Stairs and
Outlaw Radio. Back after this.
See horns on you, boy.
Oh my God.
Wait, what is he saying? What is he saying?
I'm gonna blow my load at the glory hole.
Oh wow! All right. If you're from Atlanta, ignore this. This is not Outlaw Radio. Bad news, folks. If you're a Husky fan, the Oregon Ducks were trailing 27-14 in the fourth quarter. Scored 2 unanswered touchdowns. Oh no, that's not true. They trailed 24-14 to start the fourth quarter. And then they scored a touchdown. North Carolina scored a touchdown. Oregon scored a touchdown. With 19 seconds left, the Ducks now lead North Carolina 28-27. I'm not a fan of the Tar Heels. I'm not. It's a egotistical, sucky fan base that thinks that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread in every sport they play. But anybody who can play and beat the Ducks, I root for. I hate the Ducks. You know what the O is? We know what the O stands for in the middle of Oregon.
The O face. O.
It stands for the number of national titles that fucking team has won. That's what it stands for.
Wow.
Dude, there's like 100 and some odd
Are we
teams.
on Facebook? Please say we're on Facebook.
Yeah, we're on Facebook.
Thank God.
It's like 100 and some odd teams in college
Spencer,
football.
You can swear now.
All right.
I'll save it.
Okay.
Good Lord. Unbelievable.
I'm so disappointed.
When do the Huskies play anyway? What's their bowl game?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow they play against Texas, and former Husky coach Steve Sarkisian is the head coach of Texas.
All right, coming back.
Hey, you be nice to alcoholics, you jackass.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network.
The national title game is coming up on New Year's Eve. Sorry, the national title playoffs are New Year's Eve. It'll be Georgia against Ohio State, and then TCU against Michigan. I'm hoping for Michigan and Ohio State to each win their games because that would be a great rematch. However, the chances of Ohio State winning that game against Georgia is roughly the same chances I have of banging Mandy Moore tonight after this show. It's not going to happen. It's not
banging
gonna happen.
anybody anymore.
Hey, what? I got two hands. Okay. Hey, are we done with this topic? Do you want to move on to something else?
No, we can move on. We can
Hey,
move on. I just wanted to bring it up.
Power.
Power attacks. Power grid attacks.
Yeah.
What? Talk in the microphone.
Power grid.
Power grid attacks.
A lot of people.
I just have a quick question. This is a yes/no question. Raise your hand if the answer is yes.
Maybe.
Bill Cosby has announced he's planning a comeback comedy tour. If tickets were $25 for you to go see him, would anybody here go see Bill Cosby live for $25?
For $25, I'd go see him.
Do I have to pay for parking?
Probably.
Best part is
Nope.
he's including a sample of his famous barbecue sauce.
And a free drink.
No, I probably would.
I'd go see it.
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
But you guys hate women because he victimized women. Well, he was found. He was cleared by the court.
But he did his time.
No,
he put gross stuff in the Jello.
Remember the court let him off. Remember he was convicted and the court.
Well, he
released
gets
him
off
out
all
early
over the
and
place now, doesn't he?
Vacated his conviction.
Yeah, it was procedural.
Oh, I'm going to look up some Bill Cosby jokes.
That's
in
right.
5
That's
minutes.
It was procedural. It's not necessarily innocence. It's just procedural.
Well, but then he should have went back to court and been tried again, right?
But I don't know exactly how
What
it worked
does-
out, but we have
The
double
uproar
jeopardy
had
laws.
died.
What does Bill Cosby and a dentist have in common? They knock you out before they drill your cavity.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh. Damn.
A little something in the pudding.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
That's pretty bad.
Paul, read that one.
No, I'm not reading that.
Is
Good
that-
answer, Paul.
Nope.
You can't read that on AM radio.
What does
I
Bill
take it.
Cosby's penis look like?
I have no idea.
Blurry. Andy, are you okay? Andy's crying. Get her a tissue.
How is Santa like Bill Cosby?
Oh.
Neither will come if you're awake.
Stop. Stop.
Hey, let's talk about power grid attacks. Go ahead, Paul.
So
that's the most awkward segue I've ever heard in my life.
So,
Over the
Archie,
Christmas weekend.
Cosby can't get a hysterectomy. Just, the gender thing.
He, him.
Speaking of North Carolina, they recently had power grid attacks about a month and a half ago.
Yes, they did, and they're unsolved still,
and
right?
they are currently unsolved.
And
It was
nobody's
Moore
claiming,
County.
nobody's claiming responsibility still. Is that correct?
So far, yes, but the FBI and all the powers that are investigating are saying it is. Oh, what was I reading? Basically, they're nailing it down to a neo-Nazi group. Is anti-LGBTQ. They're trying to make a narrative because there was the day it happened in North Carolina, there was a LGBTQ plus drag show in the next city over. And so they're like, oh, we're going to make this connection. They wanted to shut down the LGBTQ.
Seem realistic?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, I was going to say, to me, that doesn't make any sense.
Do I believe that? Not a chance. I believe that was a narrative. So fast forward a month and a half. Christmas Day in
this weekend, Pierce County,
Puyallup, Tacoma PD or Tacoma Public Utilities owned 2 of the 4.
And there was 4, right?
And
4
the
that were
other
hit.
2 were PSC.
Okay, yeah. So there were 4, total of 4 power stations that were hit. I know that in what I had read, there was no active description of exactly what was done, just that damage was done. Do you guys have any more information on that? Do you know anything about how the damage was done or what was done?
I am reaching out to a source to get that information. I'll probably have it by Sunday.
Okay, so
that I don't know how much I'll be able to share.
Sure. The reason I bring that up is because I don't think any of us are under any illusion. We've reported over the years about the fact that our power grid system, if you will, software system has been infiltrated by malware from national actors of a couple of different states, at least. The most glaring of which is Russia.
Yeah. So a software attack like that makes sense, but actual vandalism
These
to a
were
substation,
physical,
yes,
attacks.
that if you don't know what you're doing, that's a great way to die.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But yet nobody's died.
Yeah, in North Carolina, it was high-powered weaponry like guns.
Oh, they were just trying to break things?
I think they knew what they were doing. It said it was a very planned, very specific attack. They could tell because they shot whatever exactly they needed to shoot at. They have not said guns were used in these Tacoma area, but they said physical break-ins and vandalism, which caused the
we know then that
outages.
there were physical break-ins,
Yes,
and things
in
were
this
damaged
Tacoma.
physically.
Mhm.
Okay.
But it seems like they knew what they were doing because
Yeah.
they damaged just enough.
Did you live in that area, but you're not quite down. Were you affected?
I was not personally affected, but I had family
Okay.
that's out there.
I-
And there's now because I am invested in that Tar Heel game because I work for somebody on that side of the world.
Okay.
She is now experiencing rolling blackouts from Duke Power because those 2 grids went down, and so now all of Duke Power is having to have rolling blackouts to
And make up for the difference.
Make up for the difference.
And now, I have always been a firm believer, all the years we've been doing radio since 98, you learn fairly quickly a couple of things. Like 9/11, for example, when I hear people talk about, who brought down Trade Center 7, there was a conspiracy, and anyway, there are a few principles that always remain true. One is people do not stay quiet. That's first and foremost, right? When you think of how many people it would take to keep a secret like that, it's not feasible. Somebody would talk. Whenever something occurs in an attempt to make a political statement, somebody always wants you to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yep.
Somebody's always going to take responsibility because they want you to know I did this. I'm powerful enough. I did this. And this is why. Listen to me. Yep. Right. And that hasn't happened with any of these. So my first thought initially was, well, meth heads do stupid stuff and win stupid prizes all the time. And we know that a lot of power lines, cables and wires and stuff get stripped of copper and other metals that they can trade in to get quick cash, right? Substation, you ain't going to do that. You're not going to survive that trip, right? So that's kind of ruled out. It wasn't something some stupid druggie did to try to make a quick buck. So when you start narrowing it down, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, is your answer, right? Sherlock Holmes said that.
That's Occam's razor.
Thank you. I could not remember the name. Okay, appreciate that. Could you take 1 second, explain Occam's razor so that people understand it?
That is the idea.
You're college educated. You have a better understanding.
Yeah. It's the idea that the simplest cause to whatever the problem may be is the
Probably your
cause
answer.
is probably your answer. Yes.
Right.
You know, it's the premise behind keep it simple, stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so as we're looking at this and we're looking at the lack of information that's been made public, that to me does suggest some nefarious actors. Listen, we live in a world right now that is in a state of some serious flux. There are some serious issues going around, and anybody with half a sense of understanding of history and of military history, what is the one thing that you do to your enemies? You clandestinely find their weak spots.
Take out the infrastructure.
Right. And our power grid is honestly our weakest link, in my opinion, in this country. We've seen what happens in this country when people go without power for a matter of just days. We saw it during Hurricane Katrina. You've seen it this week in Buffalo, right? Buffalo's been really, really bad. People nowadays are not prepared to conduct themselves in a way that survival and comfort go hand in hand because they're too used to comfort.
Yeah. I'd like to point out that all of the news stories, both for North Carolina and now over here in Washington, are saying the same thing.
What do you mean?
White nationalists, neo-Nazis, anti-LGBT.
Makes no sense.
That's just people trying to politicize things.
Right, but they're pushing a narrative. Why are they pushing a narrative? So it goes back to follow the money, follow the power.
Why would the people in charge, let's take Washington State. I don't know anything about the government in North Carolina.
Right.
In Washington State, we have a very left of center government, and it becomes very politically expedient to blame a group where you can point a finger and say that these are, right wing, white extremist, white national type people.
Here's my problem with that.
Go.
One, it'd be like you said, if that was the case,
sure, Whitey,
someone's gonna come out and say, "Hey, it was me. Look at me."
Agreed.
Jump up and down, right?
Agreed.
Two or three or four substation. Who cares? That sounds like vandalism to me. If it was, if it was a group that was trying to make a impact, that they're going to hit more than two or three or four places.
That's my. That's what I feel.
We were talking, and they hit cities that are large enough, but not major. They didn't hit Seattle. They didn't hit Charlotte, North Carolina. They didn't hit these major metropolises.
Yeah, they hit
these
secondary
places.
populated zones.
But if you think about the Frederickson-ish area, there's a Boeing plant.
You talking about
out
North
there.
Carolina?
No, here, Frederickson,
Okay.
Puyallup.
Okay.
Graham, it's all the same. There's a Boeing plant out there. You are extremely close to JBLM. You know, and in North Carolina, you have a lot of those same things.
They are soft, very soft targets.
And I'd like to point out in Washington, they hit 2 of a government public utility, and the other 2 were a for-profit utility.
Good, I'm safe.
Okay?
Mine's a
So guess
nonprofit out on
what?
the peninsula.
What did they do? They did all of this. They saw what they could accomplish, and they saw the response times. I mean, if you're
seriously,
testing
I mean, you guys are
something
right there.
out-
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, if you're testing something out, you're looking, did I do it? How long did it take? How long did it take for them to respond? What was the response
Right.
time in the area? Were there a lot of sirens? How many more of these could we
And
do
I-
in an hour in a concentrated attack?
And I will say this, for everybody back in the mid 2000s that read Puget Sound Energy's report on a coronal mass ejection, it is very, very telling. I read that 68-page report, and it scared the hell out of me. And what it discussed is what the response would be if a coronal mass ejection struck the United States and how long it would take to bring the grid back online. Problem is, they point out very clearly that they do not have stockpiles sitting around of very specific pieces of equipment. which have to
Correct.
be then built from scratch. And so if you lose enough of them, you can't even restore power to the plants where these need to be recreated. So it becomes a very convoluted, very scary, and they estimated up to 6 years to restore power. 6 years. We can't handle 6 days.
All right, Outlaw Radio, we'll take a break. One final segment of the show's around the corner, so stick around. Outlaw Radio, Mega Talk Radio. Back
Scare
after
the
this.
pants out of your radio.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network.
All right, Outlaw Radio. Hold on, let me ask you a question. We've seen instances where people with lasers are pointing them at airplanes flying out of SeaTac, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't think those are terrorist actors planning anything. I think those are stupid people. No, and the reason I don't think so, Lori's smiling like she thinks otherwise, but we don't see it
Mass
often.
tomatoes.
We don't see it often, and it's kind of gone away, right? We haven't heard about it.
Well, those are one-offs.
Yeah. So is it possible these are one-offs in the sense that somebody back east did it, and other people hear about it after they had a few beers, and they go out and they decide that they're going to
But
go shoot?
4 different substations on the same day at the same time. 3 were at the exact same time, and 1 was a couple hours later.
But wasn't there one done before, a couple days before on the East Coast?
No,
A month before.
North Carolina was about a month before.
Yeah.
Oregon also had one, I believe.
Okay,
if not
so there's
more.
more.
Than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay,
and
well-
there's Oregon had one, I think, Christmas also.
So if this is practice, maybe, but if the U.S. power grid is under attack, it's going to be 50 or 100 or 100
When the final attack comes.
all at once, all at the same time.
Military tactics and strategy teaches us very clearly how to do what, Hunter? What do you do to your enemy? You probe their weaknesses, right?
Yeah, you probe 'em.
Right. So, and now just put your military cap on for a minute. Put your active duty military cap on for a moment. All right. I want you to think about this. How weak is our infrastructure?
Pretty weak.
Very. Those are soft targets, right?
Mhm.
What's the best way to determine the best way to take out a whole bunch of different is you start taking a few out here and there. You see how long it takes them to fix them. Like they said, what's the response time? What's the repair time? How long does it take?
I have a quick question on this bent. What about our silos? Our nuclear silos?
They're self-contained.
Right. I understand that. But where is that power? And you don't have to say it out loud, but I mean, I'm assuming it is totally separate from the surrounding area.
Oh, that's not even on the same grid.
Yeah, they're completely self-contained. Yeah. It's a great question. In fact, the only people I've ever heard of cutting off power to the nuclear silos are UFOs. I know you guys think I'm actually telling the very truth. It's true.
Let me ask this question though: Is it? Why would they? Hold on. This will sound like a stupid question, but why would they have to research? If I'm a coordinated group of bad guys,
that was close.
And I want to, it was, and if I'm a coordinated group of bad guys, and I want to attack power stations, they already have the technology to do it.
That's why I think it's.
Let me ask this question when we come back.
Yeah,
Outlaw
that.
Radio, stick around.
This is the Outlaw Radio Network.
Outlaw Radio. Talking about the attacks of the power grids.
I want you to state your question over again because literally while we were just sitting here talking about this, it cemented my thoughts about this. So go ahead and ask your.
Okay. My question is, why would they have to research ways to hit the power grid? I'm an idiot. And I know that if I
don't be so hard on yourself.
If I stole a car, I could drive it into a power grid. The terror
that would
group-
kill
That
you.
takes your life.
No, not if you start the car and jump out of it as it's going.
Oh, well,
Listen, this is the terror groups are the ones that have mastered the art of flying themselves in an airplane into things. So I'm not and suicide bombers. So I'm not worried about the premise they might die in the process. They kind of get off to that. But they know the art of making explosives. They know the art of improvised devices. All of this stuff is
Sun Tzu, the art of war.
I would assume that I could get a pressure cooker and put something in the pressure cooker and throw it over the fence and take it out. You know what I mean? Like this the idea that they'd have to practice with guns, which is a very rudimentary way of causing damage, when they've already mastered all these
Nobody
other
has
ways.
said it was guns.
I thought
just in North Carolina.
Oh, just North Carolina was guns?
They have
Okay.
they have not specified if it was. They were saying it was a physical break-in attack, but they haven't specified what it was. But I've got two things with that. One is if you're driving a car or you're doing, something like that, it's a lot easier to catch you or to catch the people you're affiliated with.
Yeah.
But if you're, using guns or whatever, they may not be fully this may be the training course for the people that they've amassed to go, hey, this is what you got to hit. You got to make sure you're, out of this, XYZ. I don't think it would take them.
Before our military pulls off an operation, we practice.
Yeah,
we
but-
plan.
Well, and we saw that
And-
on September 11th too.
and-
We know that the hijackers planned and rode the flights ahead of time.
Mhm.
But I'm just thinking with the Sarnievs or whoever they were, the ones that did the explosives at the Boston bombing with
Sure.
the pressure cookers.
Sure.
Like
the
these
Tsarnaev brothers.
Yeah, Sarnievs.
Yeah. But here's the thing,
These
they're
were
caught.
teenagers, but these were teenagers who were able to master the art of turning a pressure cooker into a bomb. I just can't help but think that if they were going to try to take out substations, they'd use something a little more consistent to cause irreparable damage, not something they can fix in a matter of days.
But that's not something you can learn on YouTube.
Well, no, I think it is actually.
And well, listen,
I don't think
listen,
so.
listen. I don't think there's any illusion that when we have these conversations, I think about this and Hunter, you and I have had these conversations here actually recently. You've got nobody talking about, hey, I did this. That's the first serious big time red freaking flag. That should make
Other
you
than,
sit back.
White nationalists.
Right, by a narrative
is
that's
what
been
there is
a
media
narrative
says
that's
that
been put
they're
out with no
taking-
evidence.
Yeah, they're taking a claim
So-
for it.
And
So-
I'll remind you, in the 70s, there's a whole bunch of terror attacks that were done by environmentalist far left.
The Weather
libs.
Underground and others. Yeah.
So let's not pretend like the left doesn't have a history. But go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
So the point is you solidified my thought process on this. I would have to say at this point in time, in looking at all of the data, I think that this is a state actor, and what you're seeing probes. You're seeing a small amount of advanced, we would in the military you'd refer to as an advanced guard or a picket, advanced picket line, right? Is that a good phrase? Hunter, you okay with the pickets?
Sure.
Okay.
yeah.
So you're seeing an advanced unit who's figuring out the weak points, figuring out the specifics, because nobody's opened their mouth and said a damn thing. And if law enforcement and government officials are trying to put out this BS narrative that it was white nationalists, they don't keep their mouths shut either. So, in fact, they're some of the dumbest people you'll ever
probably
meet.
the least
Yeah.
likely to keep their mouth shut.
So what we have complete radio silence on who's responsible for it and why. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is only a state actor is going to keep their mouth shut. They don't want to tip their hat.
Mm-hmm.
If you, and I'm going to throw a complete what if scenario at you here.
Okay.
Because we saw another major event take place over the weekend too. You guys know what I'm talking about? You saw the largest incursion of Chinese aircraft into Taiwanese airspace. Then Taiwan changed their laws and made compulsory military reservist assignment applicable for every person in their country now. So Taiwan is very concerned about a forthcoming assault by China. I'm just using this as an example. If you're China and you know that the United States is focused on Ukraine and what's going on there, and you see a feckless president in the United States in Joe Biden, and you've determined that after what people like Nancy Pelosi and others did, which isn't just an excuse, she didn't really do anything, but you're in a position now where you say, I've got to try to take Taiwan now. The timing is right.
But it's not.
Hold on, let me finish. If you're in the military and you're planning on pulling off a major operation like that, and there's only one country on the face of planet Earth that's going to stand up to you and possibly stop you from doing it, the best course of action for you to take is a diversionary matter or a diversionary action that is going to delay to any degree a response from that one country that could stop you. Well, shutting down half a country's power grid would be just that type of diversionary or delaying tactic. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if I'm looking at this from a tactical standpoint on a global level, we've only got a few enemies that are in a position where they're capable of pulling anything off that would cause them to have any interest in doing something like this. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Russia, I can see. China, no way.
I know you've said that before.
Yeah.
I know it's convenient to say that, but China wants Taiwan.
They do, but China also relies on the rest of the globe, and there's no way China could handle the sanctions that would come down. China imports 80% of their food. They import 80% of their energy.
Right.
And there's no
And
way.
China has cities built for 500,000 people built out of concrete called ghost cities with nobody living in them.
That is what their economy is propped up on.
Exactly. It
So
is. My only point is that the Chinese do stuff bass-ackwards.
Absolutely. They
So I don't want to try to pretend I understand them
hold
at
on.
all.
In the conversation about Taiwan, you're sorry, I almost said Bill Clinton. You're Joe Biden. China gets involved in Taiwan. Do you
Freudian slip.
dispatch the military? Do you get involved?
If I'm
in
Joe
Taiwan's-
Biden?
If you're Joe Biden, do you send, not what will Joe Biden do, but if you're the president, do you commit U.S. forces to the aid and defense of Taiwan?
Unquestionably.
We've already said that we would.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we've said a lot of things. Obama wrote a line in the sand that they pissed over, and he didn't do anything.
That's true. Joe Biden did say that if Russia invaded Ukraine, they would take out the Nord Stream pipeline, and he promptly walked that back.
Yeah.
So,
Whatever they said is irrelevant to me.
no, but I think Tom's right. We have to. Listen, when you look at the world as a whole, what does Taiwan have? We've talked about this before, that nobody else on planet Earth manufactures at the rate that superconductors. You lose Taiwan, guess what? China has now cornered the entire world market on superconductors, and they control
sort of.
everything.
They don't have the technology to operate the plants.
But
So they
would
better not kill everybody,
But
is
they
your
would
point?
keep the
Right.
Taiwanese that they need.
Well, they
alive,
still have to
most likely.
That treat them all like Uyghurs?
Yeah,
That
but-
just slave labor them?
But if you take this a little bit further with the
Mm-hmm.
Chinese plan, let's say,
Mhm.
if you have to wake up the sleeping giant because you want this country called Taiwan, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean,
Hold
it
on,
makes
hold on.
sense.
You
It
guys
makes
are
sense.
all so wrong.
Okay.
I'm going to sound gold.
Gold? Oh,
Libertarian.
no.
Go, Kevin, go.
He's been gold all show.
Leave it alone.
Goose that laid the golden egg.
Leave it alone. It's not your fault.
Stay gold, pony boy.
Look, if Puerto Rico decided they wanted to be free of the United States and declare themselves a breakaway republic, we would not want Russia getting over here, getting in our business and telling us what to do with our breakaway republic. That is American land, regardless of what the people who
Puerto
live
Rico doesn't have a superconductor.
No, hold on. I don't care.
Have good rum.
Yeah.
That land is owned by the United States, regardless of what the people who live there say. Now, again, I'm glossing over the Puerto Rico situation,
right?
But the same thing applies to Taiwan. Taiwan has been for centuries part of mainland China, and only recently did they declare, without recognition, by the way, that they were no longer under Chinese rule. And the Chinese,
That was because the
Chinese,
lease that United Kingdom had with them went poof.
That was
that's Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
And
yeah,
the Chinese rather graciously left them alone. Like, did not invade immediately, did not smack down the rebellion, nothing. Just basically said, no, okay, and didn't do anything. That's not our fight. I don't want
Good
Hunter.
luck with that one. You send a letter to the president on that one.
I don't want Hunter. No, I don't sound like the president because he'll get a sentence.
No, I said send him a letter.
No.
I'm saying that's nice that you feel that way,
I
but
don't
it's
want
just not
Hunter,
practical.
I don't want Hunter or thousands, hundreds of thousands of people like Hunter going over there to fight a war that is not our war to fight. Ukraine is a more viable war for us to fight than Taiwan because Ukraine is a sovereign nation that's been recognized as such.
Well, so is Taiwan.
Taiwan has not been recognized as a sovereign nation by China.
It's been recognized by us.
But Ukraine was recognized as sovereign by the Russians.
Oh, a long time
Yeah,
ago.
after 1990 or whenever it was that they went. So there's an actual established border there. This is an internal dispute in China. This is not an us thing.
I can think of a lot of Taiwanese that would disagree with you on that.
Sure. There's a whole bunch of people in Sudan that we didn't rush to the aid of. Why? Because they were poor black people that lived in the desert and we didn't want to bother ourselves. But because Taiwan has got superconductors, that's the linchpin.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but that's a big damn deal.
Why do we not have, maybe we need to be asking ourselves why we have to rely on a tiny little nation like Taiwan to make all the superconductors when we have some of the
have tiny hands. They're able to make stuff with.
Because we have some of the smartest minds in the world in this country. If we can't come up with our own semiconductor processing, we're effed as a nation.
We can and do, but it's more expensive to make them here.
Who cares?
I'm just telling you
I'll pay the extra cost to not send 500,000 U.S. soldiers to lose their lives in a battle with China that could morph into World War III.
I agree with you. We should bring all that high-tech stuff back home.
What is the thought process of men and women in the military? I know you guys have talked about Taiwan. We've talked about this. What is the thought process?
I mean, war is a scary topic, but, it's part of our job. It's part of what we signed up to do. And a lot of us... we crave violence. We crave that.
What do you say? Okay, let me rephrase the question. Apparently didn't click. What do you guys discuss and talk about with regards to Taiwan and the potential for conflict?
I mean, the potential for conflict, I think it's inevitable within this decade, probably.
And how many people in the upper leadership have you heard that phrase from, that it's inevitable?
Didn't Joe Biden say it?
I didn't hear our president say it, but have you heard it?
Did you miss it? Okay, hold on. Outlaw Radio.
Oh, hell no. He's playing the Supercharger song.
That's right.
Just because they made the playoffs.
That's right. All right. We're back on Facebook.
So go ahead. And by the way, I'm not meaning to suggest, Hunter, that you or your fellow service members would not follow orders and go into that. That's not my point.
I didn't. I
know you
would.
would. I know you guys would.
I think it's good to understand and hear the perspective of the young men and women that are serving.
I agree. I just wanted to clear that up.
So, when I say what is the thought process? You've heard from leadership that many of them think that it is inevitable. Is that true? Is that accurate?
That's true.
Yeah.
Some believe it is inevitable.
So, in fact, you've heard from a doctor recently that conflict is probably not too far in the distant future, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not saying nothing about anybody or anything else. I ain't giving away no information. But I'm just saying that you've heard it from enough people within the leadership in the U.S. Army that is it your belief that conflict with China is more or less likely than conflict with Russia? Or is there an equation there? Do you think it's one or other? Possibly both?
Personally, I believe if we were to go to war with China, I feel like North Korea, Russia, Iran, other players, they've jump in, turn it into a global conflict,
Melee.
Split up our forces,
Axis of evil, right?
Correct,
And so, I'm going to throw this out there again. This, Hunter and I sit down and we have conversations about this, about these topics on a global level, because both of us are really into history, and we both recognize that history has a tendency to repeat itself. I cannot escape this idea that right after the Olympics occurred, the Winter Olympics last February, in where? China. Putin went to China, met with President Xi Jinping, and within 2 weeks invaded Ukraine. And there is no way, with as close as the two of them are, doing their military exercises and everything else, and their economic reliance on each other, that China was not completely and 100% in the fold and aware that Russia was going to invade. Hunter knew it, and he was flying a drone over him.
Okay, but hold on. So
I'm saying they're working together.
Okay, no, I'm not debating that.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, you would still be okay with committing, okay is the wrong word. You would still support committing U.S. troops to engage with Taiwan, in defense of Taiwan, knowing that it could set off a domino theory that would lead to, in no specific order, the incursion of Russian forces into Eastern Europe, because if they were partnered together, then it would be like Italy and Germany World War II. Okay? So you would have Japan. You'd have Russian forces into Eastern Europe. You would have the annihilation of U.S. forces in South Korea. Because we've heard before there wouldn't even be a speed bump.
We've heard that before. Well, I think the opinion and
And-
attitude has changed somewhat at this point in time. But
I said lessons have been learned about
And-
Russia's capabilities, period.
yes,
And the annihilation, quite possibly the annihilation, depending on how far Iran has got with their nuclear program, of a very important, strong ally in Israel. And are we? And I don't know what the answer to this is. Are we prepared as a nation to stick up for Taiwan, which is and always has been a part of China, regardless of what the people that live on the island say?
It was
at the risk of causing a global World War III conflict that will see the loss of millions of Americans.
Taiwan's been around the block a little. It was
Yeah.
Japanese after World War II.
Yep.
No, I know, but what I mean, but it was Chinese before World War II, and then the Japanese took it, and blah 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 blah.
But I would throw it back to you. Are you prepared to watch our allies fall? If Taiwan goes and we don't do anything, what happens to Australia? What happens to Guam? What happens
Well,
to
again, those are all different,
the
but those
Pacific
are all
Island
different
nations?
questions, right?
No.
No.
Here's why it is. Because this is a territorial conflict between China and a breakaway island. Australia is not a breakaway island. Guam is a U.S. territory.
Right.
These are all different questions to me than an island that's trying to break away from China, which is, in essence, a revolution of sorts, right? And would we want other nations getting involved in our breakaway republics if we had them? No. We would tell them, you stay out of it.
I don't think, and I totally respect where you're coming from. I just,
I'm curious what the chat thinks.
this
Go
is
ahead.
I'm not saying this to repudiate you and what you're saying, but I
Mhm.
think, with all due respect, you are thinking about this very myopically. You are really, really you're like scuba diving and only seeing what's right in front of you. I don't think anybody in the world is prepared for Russia and China to become the global superpower, because that's what you would have.
Mm-hmm.
Unequivocal, and they would determine everything on a global stage, everything economically, energy-wise, you name it, they would control it. Technology-wise, we would become secondary players on the world market.
Iran would be higher than us.
Yeah.
Iran
Actually-
would be their weird pal.
Because that's how world history goes. That's what it teaches us happens. If you allow aggressive countries like China and Russia to team up and begin to take what they want at their leisure, you are quickly fighting from behind right off the bat. You'd better be prepared to step up and defend your allies, because you have defense treaties with many of these countries, including Taiwan, by the way. So, we are obligated to step up and defend them. And if this wasn't the case, if it wasn't what China was trying to do, they wouldn't be building islands that are basically aircraft carriers in the
Exactly.
middle of the South China Sea
Exactly.
and pushing into the territory of the Philippines, etc.,
Mhm.
which is exactly what they are doing.
True.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
I just look. It's
save that thought, Tom. You were
Oh, I was just going to comment to the idea of like a Russia China superpower.
Yeah.
It is just not possible. Russia's proven that they don't have the military might to hold it up.
I love your thought process, brother. I
And-
do.
and
I
China
would pray
doesn't
that you're
have
right.
the economy.
I would pray that you're right. But I wouldn't put anything past. We learned in the movie 2012 that the Chinese are capable of anything.
Yeah.
You never saw the movie 2012 where they built the ships to overcome the Earth's climatic disaster, and they cracked the joke in the movie that only the Chinese are capable of building something so huge completely in secret.
Oh,
Anyway,
I missed it. I
listen,
missed the
China
movie.
China has the largest slave. Largest group of slaves in the world, and the world sat on its candy ass and done nothing. They enslaved over 1 million people based on their religious ideology and have them working in slave labor camps.
Yeah.
The Chinese can do whatever they want and have proven it. And
But do they have the economy to support that? Is Tom's question.
They don't
they
have-
rewrite the world's economy. If they band together and start World War III, they'll make the economy whatever they want.
No, China's been economically unstable for hundreds of years, and the system is unstable because of that. You know, it rises to power within its own geography.
So your thought process,
and then it crumbles.
Your thought process is that China is too economically vulnerable to do anything. That's what you're thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
They don't have the manpower because of their baby bust and their one-child policy. They don't have the economy because their economy is just it's a joke. It's a house of cards. I mean, Bernie would be proud. I mean, Madoff.
Where's Jack Ma?
And militarily,
dude, he disappeared, didn't he?
Right.
That's what I heard.
And
he's the richest man in the world. Just poof.
Right.
And
And,
listen-
who took over his assets?
And
the country,
Yeah,
right?
CCP.
Militarily, they have a huge military, but they have no way to get them anywhere.
Yeah,
what
do
they'd
nothing.
be able to do is they'd be able to go into South Korea. They'd be able to go into Japan. That would be the extent of it. They have
Australia.
They have one aircraft carrier.
Asia,
Oh,
India.
no. But they can't move the assets. They have one aircraft carrier.
Look, they're fighting with sticks on the border with India right now. Literally
Yeah,
fighting with
but
sticks.
that's my point, though.
losing.
And
But-
losing. Yes, damn.
but that's
That's
my
a funny
point.
video, by the way, folks. Go look it up.
We talk about the risk to the Philippines and into Australia and Guam and the Marshall Islands and all that, right? China doesn't have the ability to get anywhere with their massive amount of military.
Agreed.
So they'd be much more of a military threat to Russia because they share a border. But they can't get to any of our. I mean, Japan would be in trouble.
Do you want to help these guys a little bit, Hunter? You got insight to share?
Do you agree, or can you not talk?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay, I agree with Tom. What worries me on a global scale is the division of forces we would require. Okay, because here's what we would have: we would have a far eastern front with China, a southeastern front with North Korea, a western front with Russia, a southwestern front with Iran. How many ways can you divide America's forces when we have, and I'm not speaking for Hunter, who is an active member of the military, and God bless you, we have underfunded our military, something pathetic. We don't have the numbers. We don't have the technology. We're still the best armed and outfitted military in the world, but we don't have the sheer number of things that we would need to have a forefront war.
Well, I would disagree that we don't have the tech. I mean, we've already proven we have the tech.
No, we have the tech. We don't have enough of it. We don't have enough tech to divvy into 4 different fronts.
I don't think
We have plenty of women to put to work in the factories.
I
We've
don't
done
think
that
we
before.
will ever have to.
Huh?
I don't think we'll ever have to.
Oh, I hope not. But if Paul's theory comes to play, then you would see North Korea, China, Russia, Iran as this potentially
Well,
this big.
The Boy
Syria.
Scouts of America would take care of North Korea.
But again, the North Koreans are backed by the Chinese, and the Chinese have got a million, or whatever it is, troops with very few places to go besides south into South Korea. I mean, that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, would we win that war? Us and the Allies would win that war.
Yeah.
Which is my next thought, Paul. I hope you're not right, because if you're right, start looking forward to a nuclear winter. I mean, honestly, because
I feel like I've already been there.
No,
But
you
who's
don't-
going to lob nukes?
Well, the Russians have already talked about it.
But they won't.
I don't know. They've
But
talked
they
about
will.
they've talked about using low yield nukes,
Small tactical.
small tactical nukes. And here's what I fear: I fear it's spiraling,
As you should.
or I fear them false flagging. I fear them setting off a small tactical nuke somewhere on the Russian side of the Ukrainian border, saying, "Look what the Ukrainians did to us. We need to respond."
That's exactly what I think Russia will do. It's why I
Yep.
said to you last week, you asked about predictions,
Mhm.
and I said, I believe that you'll see, to some degree, a nuclear confrontation in Ukraine. I do. I firmly believe that. We're in a very delicate time in the world right now.
Oh, but certainly. If they false flag, to what scale would they do that? I mean, if they set off a
Yeah.
nuke in the middle of Siberia,
Yeah, I think
who cares?
See, I don't think they have to do that, right?
They would have to blow up one of their own cities.
Well, what I was going to say was in Russia, Russian doctrine and their version of their, I don't know, Bill of Rights and their laws and stuff, and their constitution says that their doctrine says they can only use nuclear weapons in the event of defense of the homeland.
Right.
So it doesn't say they have to be nuked. It says in defense of the homeland. So they could do false flag operations and blow up a few bridges and, whatever, blow up an ammo dump and say we were attacked and now we're defending the homeland. Therefore, we can use
well, hell,
low-yield
I mean,
nukes.
there's already evidence that Ukraine has sent skirmishes across the
Agreed.
border.
Mm-hmm.
There's already
Agreed.
evidence of that.
And take it one step further too. last week, the Russian foreign minister came out and said,
Was he drunk? Sergei Lavrov's a drunk.
Came out. He
All
came
Russians
out
are
and
drunk.
said, essentially, you guys are
Pickled.
meddling in our new territories. Stop meddling, or we will deal with you. So remember, those 4 territories in eastern Ukraine,
right?
They annexed all 4 of them.
Annexed. So they've already got the argument to say we're defending the motherland because they've annexed them, which are now part of the motherland.
Yes.
And Ukrainian forces took the capital back of one of those provinces.
Mhm.
And so they could say, you're now in Russia, even though it's not really Russia, but they've drawn the boundaries the way they have.
Yeah, because Ukraine is saying now that they're going to take back the Crimean Peninsula as well.
And God bless them for it. But what does Russia do? And look, if you take out what's the Zelensky?
Yeah.
If you take out Zelensky, if you detonate a nuke somewhere in Ukraine, in Kiev, wherever they think Zelensky's hiding out, and you kill Zelensky, that nation's done. I mean, I think that nation is very much driven.
His
by
leadership is holding them together.
His leadership's amazing, but parts of Western Europe have shown a little bit more chutzpah than a lot of people thought.
That's Jewish for balls.
The
Yeah,
Ukrainian
that's-
people would.
that's where I was going.
The Ukrainian people would be destroyed.
And
Well, you don't give them a lot of credit,
And
though, do you?
maybe
If a nuke was detonated
Yeah.
in their city,
Yeah.
and they lost their leader,
Yeah.
they fold.
So
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to be said about martyrdom.
there is, Hunter. Let me ask you this: when the Nazis were fighting at Stalingrad, do you remember what the Nazis had to say about the Russians who were there fighting?
He was there.
Well, he studied it.
I
He
was not
studied it.
there, but I believe they, thought the Russians were resilient, fearless.
The only way to kill them was something to the effect of, or the phrase that became very popular was that the only way that they could uproot the Russians is if the ground underneath them was on fire, and which is why the defense of Stalingrad is such an epic point in not only military history but human history, right? Because it effectively turned the tide of the Eastern Front during World War II.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After that, the Germans went on the defensive. They
Right.
started running.
Well, at the time, those Ukrainians, although some of them did fight for the Nazis and were collaborators, were still Russian soldiers.
Mhm.
They were still part of the Russian military at the time. I would expect the same degree of not only stoicism, but I would think that if Zelensky was martyred and, say, a tactical nuke went off in Kiev and he was killed, I would expect them to actually fight harder. I understand your perspective, and I don't fault it at all. I would expect them to fight harder.
I remember reading the articles about when the 2 atomic bombs were dropped in Japan, and what that did to public opinion. What that did to the general public opinion of the Japanese in the war, when they saw 180,000 people get vaporized.
That's fair.
And you have a Ukrainian people that have been cut off without food. And listen, in Japan, they weren't cut off of anything.
I mean, if you're trying to suggest it's going to warm things up for them, I mean,
in Japan, they had war rations, but they were still heated. They were still fed. They were still in Ukraine. They've been cut off from food, supplies, gas, fuel. Their women have been raped. Their children have been killed. Their men have been sacrificed. The fact that they're still fighting is credit to those people. But you drop a nuke and you kill their president.
Yeah,
I think the war's over.
That's a fair point.
Can we continue this on Sunday? Let's continue this on Sunday.
Yeah, we can.
Agreed.
It's time to go home before the monsters come out.
What great way to end the last show of 22 other than talking about the end of the world as we know it. And Paul feels fine. All right. Dennis, quickly, parting shot.
I feel fine.
Hey, cooperate for kids and go Chargers.
Personal Jesus.
That's it. That's all.
Boss Baby, do you have any parting shots?
Rick roll him.
Yeah, right. I can hardly want to
Do you
do a
really
shout
wanna
out, but
hurt me?
shout out to Dana's Poor Expressions.
Wonderful.
She's downstairs. She told me today that she listens to our shows all the time,
She's
except for
wonderful.
when you guys are annoying.
We've had her on.
So every show.
Pretty much.
Dana's
so
on.
she starts every show. Let's
I
just
love
say
Dana.
that.
That's
I
fair.
love
Yeah,
Dana. She's
but
fair. People.
she's great. And happy birthday to my dog's dad, because without him, I wouldn't have my dog.
Okay. Your dog's
Happy
dad.
AARP birthday, old man. And
Your dog's dad.
Wow, I don't even know what to
Is your-
say to that, but that was awkward.
Is your dog's
Cringeworthy.
dad a dog, or is your dog's dad a person that helped you get the dog?
human.
Okay.
And
She's just over here like, time out. Stop with the conversation.
No, I was just trying to pry. I just
no,
want-
I called him.
Oh,
sometimes,
X.
sometimes,
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
the dog's dad might actually be the dog that was the dad to the dog.
I thought
don't
you
know
were
who the
totally trying to
dog's
shut
dad
Kevin
was.
up.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
And there was.
Did you guys have
something
to have an
else.
arbitrator to determine who got custody of the dog after the breakup?
No, my mom took care of that before we even broke up. She said, if you guys break up, that dog is hers. I don't care what you think.
Perfect.
Dude,
Behind
that
my
sounds like
back.
a mom saying,
No, that's
saying like
boss mama.
behind her back. And if I have to have you killed,
Oh,
I will.
My dad was a Marine, so that was not going to be a problem.
Did you know we can
And
make
go
a gray
Buckeyes.
whale of 27 feet disappear only by spending less than 1 month in the water column? Crabs, baby, crabs.
All right. All
There's
right.
a reason we don't find missing scuba divers in the Puget Sound.
Well, happy birthday to Dog Daddy. That's
The dog daddy,
Just
yeah.
sounds weird to say. Celebrating the doggy style. All right, Lori, do you have any parting shots?
Yep, he went there, Tom. He went there.
Of course I did.
Get that visual out of your head, Tom.
Wow.
Doggy style.
Parting shots.
Are you still salty over my ugly Christmas sweater?
I don't want to talk about it, Tom. I don't talk about it.
Nipples.
I don't talk about it.
Paul had a hard time.
It was all the hair and the piercings sticking out of a damn sweater.
Plus the ornaments. Those were
I
priceless.
don't want to talk about it.
Anyways, parting shots. Gosh, everybody, have a happy new year. Be safe. If you are on the other side of sober, please plan ahead or call a taxi, call an Uber, have a designated driver. Gosh, what else? Happy New Year to everybody. And yay, W2 is coming out soon.
Yeah.
God.
All of them.
Only on Outlaw Radio will you hear somebody say, taxes, yay.
W2's 1099 should be mailed by January 31st, 2023.
Yeah, she said it. She went there.
Yep, I sure did.
That is why she has the job title she has.
Yeah. I have to fart.
Busy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to go home and go to bed.
Nice. Tom.
Well, my big thing for the holidays has been, responsible consumption, but
Yeah.
Lori covered that. So I just shout out to my pops. Dad went through some cardiac procedures today at St. Michael and came out the other side, whistling Dixie. He's doing fantastic. So
Good. Sounded like he was taking us down a weird path there for a second. Okay.
No. It was all just, hey, I'm glad everything went well for my pops today. So,
Amen. That's
yeah.
good to hear.
Nice.
Good to hear. I will say this, talking
Hold
about.
on. Hunter, do you have any parting shots?
Okay.
It's Hunter's turn. You and I always go last. That's the way the show works, bro. Hunter, parting shots?
I love women.
Are you still dating that one girl?
Yeah.
Are you good?
Oh, yeah.
Good. All right. Did you how serious is it?
Pretty serious.
Is it? Have you proposed or anything like that, or not? That
Dude!
serious yet? I'm asking. He said I'm asking him questions.
I mean, you're better than Jeremy asking if he's got. Yeah, I'm not going to go there what Jeremy said.
Got what?
Nothing.
Okay.
You probably don't remember. You were too young when Jeremy decided to ask you if you'd lost your virginity live on air.
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
No, well, you said Jeremy. I thought you meant the other Jeremy. I
Oh,
I
no.
always think of Trojo as Trojo.
Yeah,
and-
Trojo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's cringeworthy. That's it. That's all you got to say.
Is it true
Yeah.
that is it true to hit on her? You told her that you needed one more night with a woman before you and your unit invaded Canada tomorrow. Is that the pickup line that you used?
No, the pickup line I used, first thing I ever said to her was, "Hey, my mom's son thinks you're cute," and that was that. And then her immediate response was, "You used the wrong your." I put YOUR instead of.
Oh, was this on online?
Yeah, Tinder.
Tinder, high five, man, high five. All right.
See, Kevin, Tinder works for somebody.
Doesn't work for me. All right.
I had to call him out on New York too.
My mom's son,
grammar is a thing.
My
Grammar is a
mom's
thing.
son thinks you're cute. What the fuck? All right, Paul, parting shots.
There are times when I
It
truly believe
worked.
you're not my son genetically, and it's moments like that that
Look at him. Of course he's not your
Hey,
son
hey,
genetically.
no, which lets me know that he for sure is, because I would totally use cheesy shit like that too. So anyway,
What's the worst pickup line you've ever used?
me?
Yeah.
Can I order anything on the menu and then dropping it at her feet?
That's better than my worst one.
It didn't work for me because she picked up the menu off the floor.
I actually asked a girl once, nice shoes, want to fuck? That didn't work either. All right, Paul, parting shot.
9 times out of 10 you get slapped, Kevin, but that 10th time is magic.
I have a story I'll tell you later, Paul.
Anyway, I was just, as we were talking about Ukraine and Russia, and you were talking about the public opinion about when the bombs got dropped, it brought to mind, I thought for a second you were going to talk about how if they use nuclear weapons, how it would change the Russian thought process and perception towards Putin and the war, et cetera, and promptly came to mind that Russians don't believe there's any gay people that live there, which is statistically impossible, but they believe it nonetheless. That, well, frankly, I think Russians would believe just about anything that they're told. So, yeah, that's all. That was my famous last words. That, and your military sounded a lot better on paper.
Okay.
Theirs, not ours. Theirs.
Yeah, no, I knew what you meant.
My parting shot is that I hope everybody had a great Merry Christmas. Everybody have a Happy New Year. We'll see you guys on Sunday.
Really, terrorist attacked, and there was a snowstorm, and then an ice storm, and then a flood. Oh, sorry.
Fuck off.
Okay, go ahead.
Paul. I did not interrupt your
You're right.
long-winded
I'm sorry. Keep talking.
Final comment.
You want some fries to go with that shake?
Cheese to go with that wine?
Wish I had a swing like that on my front porch. I'm just giving you bad pickup lines now.
I hate every last one of you. I hate every last one of you.
Andy's playing her fiddle.
Oh, Hunter, listen. If you ever find yourself
my bad,
single
violin.
again, if you ever find yourself single again, I have the perfect pickup line for you. No. You just ask her. You just say, "Did it hurt when you fell from heaven and landed on your face?"
That was so old.
And landed on your face, Hunter.
Landed on whose
face? I lost it. You moved this phone. I was gonna zoom in so Hunter could understand the whole pierced nipple comment.
Your nipples are pierced?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. All right, we're out of here, guys. Good night, everybody. We'll see you guys on Sunday night. The first show of the year is on the first day of the year. Outlaw Radio. Watch the Huskies beat the crap out of Texas tomorrow.
Remember, pickup lines do not represent Outlaw Radio Network.
The only time you're hooking horns is in a glory hole, Jay.
Just their thought processes.